Rain slashed against the carriage like shrapnel. The ambush was brutal, the warriors fought like hell, but they were dropping one by one. Their commander clenched his jaw. When does this nightmare end? He thought. The attackers didn't even look winded, and then boom, they swarmed in for a synchronized kill wave. Steel clashed against steel as the defenders rallied. One hostile lunged at the commander, screaming, "Just die already, you trash." Sidestep. He dodged the haymaker and brought his heavy blade down, carving a nasty trench into the enemy's shoulder. He dropped a few more tangos, but for every one he cut down, 2 more took their place. The commander spat a curse. It hit him the deal was a setup. They shook hands in the daylight only to stab them in the back under the cover of night. "Protect the master at all costs," he roared. They just had to hold the line a little longer. Reinforcements were inbound. Then, the enemy boss stepped out of the gloom, dangling severed heads like trophies. "By help, do you mean these idiots?" He tossed the gruesome bundle at the commander's boots. Panic set in, their backup wasn't coming. They were already dead. The commander's eyes locked onto the crest stitched on the killer's robes. "No way. That's the Grandmaster of the Murim Alliance. The first sword that pierces the sky, Dan Chun-hak." The legend scanned the carnage, seemingly impressed. "The Ice Palace actually breeds real warriors. You held out longer than expected." The commander let out a dry chuckle. "Surprised you have the guts to show your face. If my master were here, you'd be the one on the ground." That triggered the Alliance goons. They bristled, weapons raised. "Watch your mouth before we cut it out." But then, the carriage door creaked open. Juan stepped into the rain, commanding them to stop. Her bodyguard whispered her name, terror in his voice. "Stand down," she said, calm amidst the chaos. "I'm okay." Dan Chun-hak signaled his men to lower their weapons. She walked right up to the monster and looked him in the eye. "Father," he sneered, "brainwashed by these northern savages, and running away like a rebellious child? You've embarrassed me enough." He held out a hand. "However, everyone screws up. I'm a generous father. I'll give you one last shot to come home. You're a bright girl. Make the right play." Juan glanced back at her battered, bleeding protectors. "If I go with you, will you let them live?" Her father didn't answer. He just gave her a look that could freeze water. A chill ran down her spine. Tears mixed with the rain on her face. "I'm sorry, father. I can't go with you." Dan Chun-hak stood statue still. The only sound was the relentless downpour. Shing. Steel flashed. The bodyguard lunged to save her, but the Alliance leader had no mercy, not even for his own blood. A single, brutal slash tore across her chest. Her guardian reached out, screaming, "No!" Juan crumbled to the mud. Dan Chun-hak wiped his blade. "I have no daughter. She was corrupted by their dark arts. We're here to purge the Central Plains, and we're starting now. Clean up this mess." His squad roared, diving back into the slaughter. One elite soldier decapitated 3 defenders in a single swing. "Leave no one standing." Blades rang out in a final death knell. Lying on the freezing earth, life fading, Juan looked at her fallen friends. "I should have gone back." Her last thought was of him. "I'm sorry, my love. I couldn't keep my promise. You'll have to go on without me." Boom. Thunder shook the Northern Sea Ice Palace. Inside, Master Seal Mudok just got the report from Hell. His people, including his envoy, Lord Bak Muyu, who went to talk peace, were butchered by the Murim Alliance. Mudok didn't scream. The temperature in the room just dropped to absolute zero. He stood up, eyes glowing with frozen rage. "Unforgivable. I will erase every last trace of them from history." He commanded his army to mobilize. War was coming to the Central Plains. The gates of the snowy fortress opened, unleashing a blizzard of vengeance. Scene shift. The battlefield was silent. Dan Chun-hak, exhausted and broken, looked around at his decimated army. Total defeat. His legendary chi was drained dry. This was the end of the road. He looked up at the Lord of the Northern Sea. "Just finish it," he wheezed. "But answer me one thing." Sael Mudok stepped closer, vibrating with fury. "Why did you kill her? She was your own flesh and blood." Dan Chun-hak let out a bloody laugh. "You still don't get it? My daughter fell for a barbarian savage like you. Letting a stain like that live? That would have been the real mistake." Mudok went dead silent. The Alliance leader smirked, accepting his fate. "Go ahead. Take Jiangnan. Take the world. But you'll never get her back." Crack. A spear of pure ice energy punched through his chest before he could finish his thought. Is this really the endgame? Memories of his daughter flood his mind, watching her grow up, only to have her run away and stab him in the back. She got tangled up with that barbarian, and look where it got her murdered by the very man she chose. He was seething, pure rage boiling over. Why would she pull a stunt like that? That night marked the finale of a 6-month bloodbath. With the death of Dan Chun-hak, the leader of the Murim Alliance, the war was finally over. Sul Mudok, the living legend of the Northern Sea, was the one who took him out, and in that exact moment, he cemented his status as the undisputed king of the Central Plains. Yet, his face was stone cold. He just stared blankly at the moon, feeling absolutely nothing. Years rolled by. In his frozen ice palace, only one thing mattered: that crimson flower he couldn't stop staring at. It triggered a memory. He was grinding away in his study one evening when Juan burst into the room, beaming with joy. She shoved a flower pot in his face, begging him to look. The flower of love had finally bloomed. He stared at her, totally stunned, and asked, "Is this the legendary bloom that only opens when two hearts truly beat as one?" She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes, confessing she never doubted her feelings, even though it hurt like hell when the flower refused to bloom for so long. "But look at it now," she said. "It's perfect." It wasn't just a one-sided crush anymore. He truly loved her back. She broke down sobbing, and he pulled her close, whispering, "Who else could I possibly love but you?" She flashed a massive, radiant smile. Standing there now, gazing at the petals, he realized just how much he owed her. He wanted to fill the entire garden with these flowers just for her. No matter how hard he tried to move on, she was stuck in his head. He reached out to touch the plant, and then, magic. It bloomed again. His mind couldn't process it. He immediately summoned his right-hand man, Muyang. "Find me someone who can explain this miracle," he commanded. "I don't care if you have to tear the central plains apart, find them." Muyang didn't hesitate, and took off to execute the mission. Just a few days later, the Manbakja, the guys rumored to know literally everything in the universe, assembled at the Ice Palace. These scholars were clueless about why they were summoned, until a booming voice from above ordered them to step forward. Nervous but curious, they shuffled outside to see what the fuss was about. And the view? Absolutely breathtaking. The entire garden was a sea of red. One old scholar crouched down to get a better look, gasping that in all his years, he'd never seen a garden packed with flowers of love. "You go your whole life without seeing one," he muttered. "Look, the symbol of love is etched right on the stems. This is insane. How is such a rare collection even possible?" Mudok watched their jaws drop, a faint smirk on his face. He strolled over. "So, you guys like the view?" They spun around, gushing about how magnificent it was, before asking who he actually was. When he dropped his name, they froze. They were standing in front of the absolute ruler of the Central Plains. He explained that, as the legends say, this garden was fueled by the flowers of love. He and his soulmate made this entire place bloom with their connection. But when she died, he said, voice dropping, the flowers died too. Then, out of nowhere, a few days ago, they came back to life. The scientists were floored. They looked skeptical at first, but he swore he saw it happen with his own eyes. Now, the gears were turning in their heads. This was a cold case, a total mystery. Finally, one of the elders spoke up. "There is one possibility." Mudok was in his face instantly, intense and serious. "What is it?" The old man stammered, sweating. "There's a chance of being reborn in a new vessel. Reincarnation." It sounded crazy, but it seemed the palace master's dead lover might be walking the earth again. Mudok shouted, "Is that actually real?" The scholar replied, "If it's not, there is literally no other scientific reason for that flower to bloom again." Mudok smiled, rubbing his chin in disbelief. Reincarnation, huh? For the first time in forever, he had hope. He had conquered the Central Plains, united the region, and fulfilled the Northern Sea's dream. But it felt empty. The Northern Sea was booming, yet his craving for Juan was only getting stronger. Without her, life was pointless. He grabbed the old man. "Tell me how to track her down. Fast." The scholar explained, "Rumor has it, the love flower glows when two soulmates are in the same vicinity. When you find her, the flower will light up." That's when it clicked for Mudok. He flashed back to the flower Juan brought him. It was glowing then. He hadn't realized the significance at the time, but there had to be a secret mechanism behind it. The old man pointed out that lugging a potted plant around would be a nightmare, so he suggested crafting it into a piece of jewelry he could wear. Mudok nodded. "I'm leaving it all in your hands. I roll out in 10 days, so get it done by then. Pull this off, and I'll drop 100 gold coins for each of you." The scientists were left completely speechless. With zero hesitation, they locked in on the mission, and Mudok breached the palace gates. He thought she was gone forever, but now, hope was back on the table. He'd raid hell itself to find her. Giving up wasn't an option. If she ran, he'd follow. Just wait for him. Days blurred into weeks as the ship cut through the endless ocean. Point A to point B. Down in the hold, Mudok was burning a hole through the map with his gaze. Hainan was the last uncharted territory. It had been 3 years and 5 months since the hunt began. He had scoured the entire central heartland and came up with absolutely zero leads. While hunting for Yuan, he didn't just idle. He leveled up from the transformation stage straight to the profound realm. 2 full metamorphoses under his belt. She had to be here. He fingered the love flower necklace around his neck. Memories flooded back. The day she left for those cursed negotiations. The rage returned. He remembered slamming the table. "You don't have to go," Why risk it? She stood her ground. My father is part of this. If I show up, he'll understand my resolve. Mudok called it a trap, but she wanted to trust her dad. Just this once. He was helpless. He let her go with one condition. If you sense a red flag, you bail instantly. Ian beamed. She pulled a necklace from her pocket and pressed it into his hand. A keepsake from her late mother. It has a homing beacon, she explained. It'll always find its way back to the owner. Don't worry, I'm never leaving you. Thinking back, he let out a heavy sigh. He should have stopped her, no matter the cost. Suddenly, the world shook. He snapped awake. Screams from the deck. Storm alert. The crew was scrambling, grabbing onto anything bolted down. Ropes were flying as sailors tied themselves down. Mudok threw on his gear and rushed topside. This wasn't a normal storm. It felt off. Then, a massive shadow caught his peripheral vision. A tidal wave towered over the starboard side like a skyscraper. Combat stance, engaged. He activated the defensive chi art, the 1,000-kilogram hammer. The ocean swallowed the ship whole, but he stood immovable like a statue. The crew wasn't so lucky. Bodies were flying everywhere, tossed into the churning sea. A little girl clung to the railing, screaming for her mom who had just been swept away. Mudok cursed under his breath. Time to be a hero. He flexed his telekinesis, grabbing loose planks from the deck. He launched the wood overboard, instant life rafts. He checked his work safe for now. Incoming. An old man stared up in horror. Wave number 2 was approaching, and it was a monster. Panic mode. Engaged. Everyone braced for impact. The ship was about to snap like a twig. Mudok channeled ice energy into his blade. The air temperature plummeted instantly. He was ready to freeze the tsunami. But right before he unleashed the chill, his necklace started pulsing. Boom! A golden beam blasted into the sky, swirling the water into a vortex and shattering the wave. Mudok levitated off the deck, yanked upward by an unseen force. The pillar of light vanished, taking the giant wave with it. A blinding flash tore through the clouds. The old man shielded his eyes. Pure disbelief. A second later, skies cleared. The sea was glass. Zero explanation for what just happened. Mudok woke up, cramped in a wooden box, a carriage. He grabbed his head. What am I doing here? I was just fighting a storm. Then, a blood-curdling scream cut the air. He bolted upright. The source? People sprinting away from giant mutant flies. Kids were cowering in the tree line. A man and boy promised to save them. Suddenly, a roar erupted from behind. Slice. The carriage was cleaved in two. The man froze in terror that was a first-class ride. Mudok stepped out of the dust cloud like a boss. Must be a forest in the Central Plains, he muttered. But something didn't add up. These people, they were foreigners. He was far from home. And those bugs? Giant buzzing nightmares? He had never seen monsters like that in his territory. One of the flies dive-bombed him. He didn't even flinch, just tilted his head. Missed. Divine ice shot. He froze the bug mid-air, and it shattered into a million glistening shards. The audacity. How dare some oversized pest think it can step up to a human just because it grew a few sizes? That's not something he was letting slide. He whipped around to face the swarm, then blitzed forward, unleashing a snap freeze that turned every single fly in the zone into an ice sculpture. Then crack. As the ice shattered, he scoffed. Overkill? Maybe. But trash like this deserves to be wiped out. The crowd stood there, jaws on the floor. They'd clearly never witnessed power on that level. Shaking off the shock, they crept closer. One guy stepped up, flashing a warm smile and dropping a few words. But Mudok? Clueless. The stranger bowed respectfully and tried again, yapping away. But for Mudok, it was total gibberish. He couldn't even ID the language. Judging by the vibes, it looked like a thank you, but he wasn't betting money on it. Visibly confused, he cut in. I don't speak, whatever that is. Is there a single soul here? Who speaks the tongue of the Central Plains? The group exchanged confused glances and shrugged. Great. It dawned on him they couldn't understand him either. The strangers started murmuring among themselves. Mudok tried again, desperate. Seriously? Nobody knows the Central Plains dialect? While he racked his brain for a way to communicate, some hyped-up dude sprinted over to the leader and whispered something urgent. Then, he handed over a ring. The second the leader slid it onto his finger, the magic flared to life. Language interpretation, activated. And for zero logical reason, the guy struck a super extra, dramatic anime pose. Mudok watched, feeling a heavy dose of secondhand embarrassment. The poser grinned. Can you understand what I'm saying now? And just like that, crystal clear. The guy was suddenly fluent in the Central Plains tongue. Mudok eyed the jewelry. Is that the ring's doing? The man chuckled, confirming his suspicion. Apparently, this interprets the dialect of a place called the Central Plains. Allow me to properly introduce myself. He bowed with a flourish. I'm Edmund Rowe, head of the Rowe Merchant Guild. You're an incredible magic swordsman. Thank you for saving my people. He looked expectantly. And your name is? Mudok? totally lost, frowned. I don't know what a magic swordsman is, he replied bluntly, but I am Seol Mudok. Edmund blinked, caught off guard. He started explaining, a magic swordsman is someone who wields both blade and spells, like you. But when Mudok admitted he didn't even know what magic was, Edmund looked like his brain just short-circuited. He literally just blasted ice out of thin air, and he doesn't know what magic is? Edmund thought. What rock did this guy crawl out from under? While Edmund spiraled into an existential crisis trying to figure out how to explain basics, Mudok waved a hand in his face. Hello? Earth to merchant? Nothing. Being ignored? Yeah, Mudok wasn't vibing with that. Irritation spiked, and he summoned a jagged shard of ice, pointing it right at the guy. I asked you a question, Mudok growled. Spit it out already. That woke Edmund up fast. Edmund scrambled back, terrified. This guy is officially unhinged. He just said he didn't know what magic was, so how was Edmund supposed to explain it without getting frozen? If I don't talk fast, I'm a popsicle. Whoa, easy there, he stammered. I'll explain everything. Cut to late that evening, after Edmund finally finished his crash course on the world. Sitting by the crackling campfire, Mudok poked the flames. So, this magic stuff is real here in the Central Plains? The world was massive. Edmund let out a breath, just glad the psycho hadn't killed him yet. Wait, Edmund started cautiously. Where exactly? Do you think the Central Plains is? Mudok gave him a look reserved for total morons. Are you serious? You came all the way here, without knowing where you are? But Edmund genuinely looked lost. Mudok leaned in. I'm saying it's pretty dumb to ask where the Central Plains are, when you're standing right in the middle of them. That sealed it. Edmund was now 100% convinced this guy was hallucinating. Buddy, Edmund said slowly, this isn't the Central Plains. We're in a forest en route to Barkhan, the capital of the Drake Kingdom. Mudok wasn't having it. He snapped, getting up in Edmund's face. Listen here, foreigner. I've lived my whole life here, and nobody calls the Central Plains Drake. You don't look that old. But is the dementia kicking in early? Edmund's eye twitched. Excuse me? Who's the confused one here? He forced a strained, angry smile. I'm only 50, thanks, he shot back. I'm actually worried about your brain, seeing as you think we're somewhere we're clearly not. Mudok threw his hands up. Oh, I see how it is. He spun around and pointed a finger at a kid peeking out from behind a tree. Let's ask him then. He'll settle this. Edmund sighed and waved the kid over. Leo, come here for a sec. The boy shuffled over, looking awkward. Mudok leaned down. Hey kid, is this the Central Plains? Or is it Drake? Leo just stared at him, confused and a little annoyed. Mudok glared back, waiting. Edmund intervened. He can't answer you. He doesn't speak your language either. Edmund handed the kid a spare ring. Leo, put this on, and say, language interpretation. Internally, Edmund wept for his wallet wasting expensive magic gear on this lunatic, but he had no choice. He couldn't just let this guy treat him like a senile old boomer. Mudok slid the ring on, muttered the command, and suddenly, boom, the truth flooded his brain. Suddenly, the gibberish clears up. Boom, he can understand every word these locals are spitting. He grins at the duo, thinking, now, that is one wicked spell. Time for intel. He pivots to the kid, fishing for a name. The boy introduces himself. Mudok hits him with the big question. Real talk, is this the Central Plains or Drake? Luffy gives him a side-eye, totally confused. Central. What? The kid explains they're in the woods, en route to Barhan, the capital of the Drake Kingdom. Mudok's jaw drops. He was expecting a completely different answer. Is this kid a little slow or what? He snaps his head toward the adult. Did you put the brat up to this nonsense? Edmund practically launches out of his seat, hands waving. Whoa, chill. I didn't say a thing. Ask the guild if you think I'm lying. Mudok scans his face. The guy looks terrified, definitely not capping. So, it's true? He's not in the Central Plains anymore? The reality hits him like a freight train. Flashback time. He remembers battling that insane storm on the ship, fighting till the bitter end. Then, darkness. Next thing he knows, he wakes up in a carriage. Did he just teleport through space? That is a massive bombshell. He springs to his feet, shouting, so this isn't the Central Plains? We're in Drake? Suddenly, wham! A weird sensation slams into his chest. His energy core, his dantian, is vibrating. He collapses back onto the seat. Clutching his chest, he lets out a heavy sigh. The man asks, you believe me now? But Mudok tunes him out. He's laser-focused on this energy coursing through him. It feels alien. Wrong. He needs to test this. Stat. He sprints into the forest to confirm his suspicions. This energy feels pure, but it's definitely not the same stuff he used back in the Central Plains. He leaps, soaring high above the tree line, then unleashes his power. The air around him flash freezes instantly. He checks his reserves and realizes something wild. His internal chi has doubled. He's leveled up. But why is he stranded here? He dashes forward, desperate to find his girl. Then his eyes lock onto the necklace. The crystal is glowing. Is that the key? Wen's voice echoes in his memory. This necklace returns to the giver. If that's true, she has to be here. He drops to his knees, conviction flooding him. She's in this world. After a moment, he heads back to camp. Edmund is losing it. What the heck was that? You just vanished without a word? Care to explain? Mudok strolls up, flashing a grin that says, "Don't worry about it. Just had some business to handle. I'm back now." Oh, and quick question. Edmund stiffens. That smile is giving him major anxiety vibes. The kid claims this place is called Drake. That legit? The man nods nervously. Yeah. Keep moving, and we hit Barhan, the capital. Soon. Mudok asks him to break it down one more time. Then Luffy chimes in, that mischievous smirk plastered on his face. You really don't know where you are? Man, you must have been training under a rock in the mountains. I've heard stories about hermit weirdos, but seeing one in the wild? Crazy. Mudok laughs it off. You got me, kid. Mountain training my whole life. Just stepped out into the real world today. Totally clueless. Internally, though, he's reeling. Barhan, Drake Kingdom. None of these names ring a bell. Maybe he can milk this guy for info. Since everyone here seems foreign, maybe this is just the land of Western barbarians from the old legends. Luffy looks absolutely thrilled. I'll teach you everything. As soon as Mudok agrees, the kid laughs. Follow me, old man. Mudok trails behind, ready to learn. Edmund watches them bond, face twisted in total disgust. Why are they suddenly besties? That guy is seriously creepy. Way too unpredictable. That night, Mudok goes into full student mode with Luffy. He picks up the language, but the truth? It floors him. This isn't even the Western barbarian lands. It's worse. It's a completely different dimension. The geography is bizarre, and the alphabet is nothing, like the Central Plains. And the population? It's not just humans. We're talking beastmen, elves, dwarves, and the top of the food chain? Dragons. Giant winged lizards. And then there's the magic system. Luffy drops some lore on him. Warp magic. High-level stuff. Fifth circle wizards can draw a circle on the ground, chant a spell, and boom, instant teleportation. Apparently, the stronger the wizard, the better the travel. The deeper he traveled, the clearer it became. The magic here was total chaos, defying every law of logic he knew. It made him wonder what other insanities this world was hiding. Luffy was yapping away beside him, hyped about something, but he just tuned the kid out. His gaze drifted upward, and his blood went cold. 3 moons. Not one. 3 massive orbs dominating the night sky. A shaky grin tugged at his lips. No denying it now. This wasn't the Central Plains. This was a completely different dimension. Fingers brushing his necklace, the question burned in his mind. Who actually summoned him? Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence. "Sabine, stop!" a man roared. Murdoch whipped his head around, instantly locking onto the source of the chaos. "Stay back," Sabine screamed, eyes wild with panic. "One step closer and I end it all." I swear to God, she had Annie in a chokehold, using her own friend as a human shield. The men crept forward, hands raised, begging her to chill. Henry stepped up, voice trembling. "Sabine, listen, we just need to get to the capital. They can fix this, I promise. The city is crawling with mages. I'll beg Edmund. I'll call in every favor I have. Don't hurt Annie." Sabine slashed the knife through the air, hysterical. "You think I'm stupid? Healers are unicorns even in the capital. And the price? You know we can't afford that kind of cash. These are assassin bug eggs. They're nesting in our hearts, ticking time bombs waiting to hatch. Nobody can cure this." Henry froze, silence, screaming his defeat. Tears streamed down Sabine's face as she broke down. "Once they hatch, they eat us from the inside out." Sobbing, she raised the blade, ready to strike. Better to die human than become monsters. She tensed, but a voice cut through the air like a whip. "Stop, Murdoch. I've heard enough." With a mere flick of his mind, telekinesis, he ripped the knife straight out of her grip. "I'll heal you. Put the drama away." Sabine gaped at him, totally blindsided. When did he even get there? Like a ghost. "Sit," he commanded. "We don't have time to waste." Edmund squinted, skeptical. "You know healing magic?" Murdoch shrugged. "Magic? No clue. But where I'm from, we have our ways. Now, calm down." Relief washed over the men finally. A lifeline. Edmund grabbed Murdoch's hand, desperation in his grip. "Please, save the kids. I'm broke. I have nothing to give you. But, I'll do anything." Murdoch yanked his hand away, annoyed. "Relax. It's on the house. I'm starting now. Back off." Edmund instantly started shoving people away to clear the zone. Murdoch stepped up to the terrified girls. "Don't freak out. This will be over before you know it." He moved behind them, eyes closed. "Just breathe." They obeyed instantly, trembling slightly. He settled down, placing his palms flat against their backs. Target area, the heart. That's where the parasites were nesting. He sent a pulse of energy to scan them. His eyes snapped open. Damn, they were really there. Unhatched. Lucky. Now for the hard part, destroying the eggs without stopping their hearts. Surgical precision required. An icy aura radiated from his palms. Frost energy surged through their skin, diving deep toward the heart. A visible puff of mist escaped their lips. Murdoch focused, scanning one last time. Clean. He stood up, flashing a rare smile. All clear. They spun around, eyes popping out of their heads. For real? Murdoch nodded. Every single egg. Gone. You can relax now, the crowd murmured in shock. Edmund and Leo rushed forward. Sabine? Annie? They're really okay? They're fine, Murdoch assured them. No side effects. Just live your lives. Tears of relief. The girls thanked him profusely, and the entire guild bowed low, a silent show of massive respect. He gave a casual wave, dismissing the praise, and walked off. Solitude found him under a quiet tree, and he finally let out a heavy sigh. Gazing up at the alien sky, the exhaustion hit. Days like this, they just made him miss Yuan even harder. Those 3 moons stared back, mocking his loneliness. Hope I see you soon. Cut to morning, sun's up, time to move. Capital walls on the horizon, but the heat? Brutal. It was baking them alive out there. Murdoch tied his hair back, sweating bullets. Luffy heard him huffing and tossed him a water flask. Here, expecting warm sludge, Murdoch subtly channeled a burst of frost into the metal before taking a swig. Crisp. Luffy wiped his brow, whining. Man, I'm melting. You good? Murdoch smirked. It's hot, but I'm managing. Suddenly, Luffy's ears perked up. Crack. A weird noise from the flask. Murdoch suddenly pressed the metal against Luffy's cheek. Yikes! The kid jumped. It was freezing. Take it, Murdoch grinned. Whoa, why is it ice cold? Luffy blinked, confused. Murdoch chuckled. Just drink up, kid. Luffy tilted the flask, and icy relief flooded his mouth, shocking his system. That was the good stuff. The guy instantly lit up, practically glowing with pure vibes. MC chuckled, soaking up that reaction, and hit him with, refreshed yet? That's when Luffy shoved his canteen in his face, eyes sparkling, begging for the freeze treatment. MC wasn't exactly thrilled about playing Ice Machine, but the kid had been a massive help. So, he caved. Next thing you know, he blasted the canteen with his ice art. The kid squealed, so cool. But the second Murdoch glanced up, big mistake. The whole squad was swarming him, thrusting their dusty canteens forward, begging for that icy magic. Freezing water? Easy peasy. But opening that door? That felt like asking for a major headache. Edmund, totally clueless about the commotion, strolled over to investigate the ruckus. What's the hype? He demanded. Luffy didn't miss a beat. Magic swordsman turned my water into a glacier. Turns out, FOMO is real, and everyone wanted a sip. The moment Edmund heard that, his voice dropped an octave, calling out to the magic swordsman with a sly tone. What now? MC asked, side-eyeing him. Suddenly, the guy dropped to his knees, offering his flask like it was a holy relic. Make it cold, please? MC just stared, dumbfounded. Finally, he let out a massive sigh. Fine. He should have been ghosting the guild to explore, but hey, they did solve his biggest headache. That pesky language barrier. Least he could do was chill their drinks. Edmund muttered a thanks, took a swig, and froze. Something was different. How'd you make this? He demanded. MC raised an eyebrow. Problem? Problem? No. The guy practically screamed with joy. It's insane. I've tasted every frozen treat on this continent, but I've never had anything this crisp. We're talking god-tier ice here. Nothing else even comes close. It's perfection. Murdoch looked at him like he was crazy. Bro, I just froze water. You're acting like it's gourmet. What was the deal? Edmund broke it down. Usually, making ice means pulling cold mana from the air, either freezing water or yanking moisture right out of the atmosphere. But here's the catch. Doing that mixes nasty mana impurities into the ice. That gunk ruins the flavor. However, since every wizard vibes with mana differently, pure ice is a myth. But this was 100% pure crystal. That's why it tasted like heaven. MC rubbed his chin, the light bulb finally clicking on. So that's why they were losing their minds. If plain old ice got them this hyped, he honestly felt kinda bad for these guys. Feeling generous, he prepped another batch. But Edmund threw up a hand. Stop. What gives? MC asked. Edmund's eyes gleamed. I've got a business proposition. Cut to a few days later, Operation Ice Age was in full effect. The crew hauled bucket after bucket to the store, and Murdoch blasted them, churning out that premium, high-grade ice. Witnessing the magic, the workers cheered like fanboys before diving back into the grind, leaving Murdoch to his thoughts. Rewind to the pitch meeting. Murdoch had been low-key offended. Edmund's grand master plan to save the guild? Selling Murdoch's ice. Honestly, not a shocker, considering the guy wouldn't shut up about how tasty it was. Praising his wizard skills? Yeah, totally buttering him up. Edmund explained that fourth circle mages are usually too arrogant, producing trash-tier ice. They needed to dominate this untapped niche market. Still, Mudok didn't sense any shady vibes. The guy was just desperate to claw back his reputation. Edmund wasn't exactly a mastermind, but Mudok wasn't working for free. Time to negotiate. I make the product, you just move it, Mudok stated. I take 70%. You keep 30. Edmund flinched, the gears turning in his head. Even at 30, this ice was a gold mine, but a merchant always pushes for more. Listen, Edmund countered. Distribution costs are killer. I need a transport wagon, haulers to pull it, and a mage to keep it frozen. That's a heavy overhead investment. Cut me some slack here. Mudok shrugged instantly. Fine, 60-40. Edmund blinked, stunned. That was too easy. He slapped a contract down before Mudok could change his mind, and that's how they got here. Mudok only signed up to have a base for exploration, but business was booming way harder than expected. Mid-shift, Henry burst into the shop, panting. Boss, you gotta see this outside. Curious about the panic, Mudok stepped out. Boom, a massive mob, all thirsty for ice. Form a line, he yelled. Ignored. They were too busy shouting and shoving. Enough. MC projected his voice directly into their skulls. Silence. He stepped out to handle business, and laid down the law. Keep it down, or get out. One more peep, and they'd be tossed onto the street, so they better listen up. The crowd instantly zipped their lips, dead silent. That's when Edmund dropped the hammer. They're only moving ice cream wholesale right now. If anyone came for a single scoop, they needed to hit the bricks. Maybe down the line they'd do retail. But today, no dice. One woman threw a fit, claiming she trekked all this way just for the hype, while others started begging for an exception. But a single, murderous glare from Mudok shut them up cold. Defeated, they shuffled out, salty about their wasted time, while the MC flashed a cheeky grin and waved them off as Edmund motioned for the survivors to step forward. Only 3 heavy hitters remained, a rep from the Magi Merchant Guild, Benjamin the butler for House Slade, and an envoy from the Arista family. Edmund was internally screaming with joy. The McGee Guild is a top 10 titan on the continent, and those noble families carry serious clout. He knew the payday would be massive, but he never dreamed of luck like this. It was all thanks to the magical swordsman. The guild was still a fixer-upper, but without that guy, this golden ticket wouldn't exist. He turned to the magical swordsman and told him to take 5. He asked if the heavy lifting was done. Edmund confirmed it, promising to handle the suits, and told him to go recharge. Mudok gave a nod of respect and headed back inside, wishing him luck. Edmund silently apologized to his savior. Beneath the business facade, he had one driving fuel: vengeance. For his parents, his brothers, his sisters all slaughtered, he had to rebuild this merchant empire to bankroll his war against Duke Icarus. For wiping out his bloodline with the Akka's Guild's help, he wouldn't rest until they were dust. That's why he's praying. The magical swordsman sticks around until the endgame. If this works, Edmund swears he'll pay him back 1,000-fold. Meanwhile, the MC crashed into his room and face-planted onto the bed. He let out a heavy sigh, totally drained. Cash flow is looking good, and the numbers are climbing, so it's time to pivot and start hunting for intel on Juan. A knock at the door snapped him out of his strategy session. It was Sabine. A smile crept onto his face. Food delivery. He gave the green light, and Sabine walked in clutching a bowl of that shaved ice goodness, his current obsession. It's a mix of crushed ice and fruit, an accidental masterpiece invented by Sabine, the girl he just met. He thanked her for the grub, and told her he was about to devour it. She beamed, dropped a bon appetit, and bounced. He took a spoonful, trembling with anticipation. The second that cold slush hit his tongue, pure euphoria. Frosty, sugary, and bursting with juice. He never imagined flavors like this existed back in the frozen hellscape of the North Sea. It's no wonder the Row Trading Guild is going viral for this stuff. The hype is real. Lost in the flavor, he scraped the bowl clean without realizing it. Empty. He needed a refill. Stat. Dragging himself up was a hassle, but with the staff swamped, he had to go on a solo mission. He stepped out and immediately picked up on bad vibes. Drama was brewing. Sabine was pleading with some customers to cut the attitude and just queue up. One of them, a dude with a punchable smirk, sneered. You giving orders to us? To aristocrats? Mudok clocked them instantly, total morons. The smirk guy's buddy, Samuel, piped up, claiming she clearly didn't know who she was dealing with. Quit whining and fetch the ice cream. His friend pointed a finger at her, warning her that they only came because of the rumors, so she better pray the product doesn't suck, or else. She fired back. The Row Merchant Guild doesn't serve thugs. That triggered him. He exploded. You dare tell a noble to wait in line with these peasants? Standing near commoners was already bruising their egos, and now she wanted them to queue up like regular people? It looked like she was begging for a death sentence. The MC watched from the shadows as she stood her ground against the snob, telling him straight up, "My ice cream isn't something you get dibs on just because of your bloodline." He was livid that she dared to talk back. Internally, she was betting everything on the swordsman, saving her if this went south. Mustering every ounce of guts she had, she told him his behavior was absolute trash. She was just stating the rules. Samuel snapped. He ripped his sword out, screaming that she must really want to die. But she didn't flinch. He was grinding his teeth in blind rage when his friend Justin clamped a hand on his shoulder, warning him not to be an idiot. "You want to embarrass us?" Samuel backed off with a quick apology. Then Justin stepped up to Sabine. "We're here for the ice cream." She caught his gaze instantly cold, dead eyes, that made her feel like her heart just froze solid. Panic set in. He whispered, "I really hate waiting. She needs to hustle, like yesterday." His glare is literally drilling holes into her soul, leaving her shaking in her boots. Finally, she cracks under the pressure, stammering out a quiet plea for him to just hang tight a second. Boom, Edmund bursts out of the store right on cue. He barks her name, clearly ticked off, and stomps over to confront the situation. He lays down the law. Roll Trading Guild policy is crystal clear, no ice cream for thugs. Did she seriously forget the code? Snap, she pulls herself together instantly. She starts apologizing profusely, but Mudok's watching from the sidelines, thinking, whoa, there's gotta be serious history there for Edmund to react that hard. Edmund turns the fury on the punks, demanding they bounce immediately. Breaking guild rules? Zero tolerance policy. Get out. The rich kids look like they just got slapped. Total insult to their egos. But Edmund tells them they've got the situation all twisted. Refusing service isn't just about them cutting in line or barging in early. It's way deeper than that. The goons swap confused looks before Justin demands the real reason. Edmund drops the mic. "Go ask Duke Icarus yourself." That name drop makes the henchmen nervous. They start whispering like crazy. Justin demands to know how this shopkeeper knows his pops, but Edmund just stonewalls him. Silence. Justin squints, really studying the guy's face. Then it clicks, those eyes. He recognizes those eyes. A nasty smirk creeps across Justin's face before he hides it behind his hand. "Oh, I get it now," he says, the pieces falling into place. "You're trash from the ruined Roll Guild." That smirk turns into a full-blown, creepy grin that even freaks out his own crew. They know that smile means one thing: unhinged rage. Shing Justin rips his sword from its sheath. He declares that disrespecting a noble equals a death sentence. No hesitation, he lunges straight for helpless Edmund. Edmund squeezes his eyes shut, bracing for the end, bitter that he never got vengeance for his family. But the blow never lands. Clang. Mudok catches the blade with his bare hand like it's nothing, then flicks his wrist, tossing the noble kid across the pavement. Justin is lid. "You got a death wish, peasant?" Justin screams. Mudok just lets out a long, heavy sigh. He thinks, man, I just came here for a second scoop of ice cream, and now I'm dealing with this drama? You tell a rude customer no service, and he tries to commit murder? The logic here is actually insane. He tells the brats they were raised wrong. Time for a little hands-on education in manners. Justin isn't listening. He spits out an insult, pumps his blade full of glowing mana, and charges back in. Screaming that they're dead meat, he swings hard. Boom! A massive crash echoes out, kicking up a thick cloud of dust. Justin rushes Mudok, sword held high, slashing wildly like a maniac, desperate to land a single hit. Mudok just weaves and bobs with a chill smile, teasing him. Young, gifted, and terrified. Tragic combo, kid. But here's the kicker. No matter how hard Justin swings, he's cutting nothing but air. True power follows reason to create harmony. If this tantrum is how nobles act, then your class has zero honor. But I'm a generous guy, so I'll fix your attitude personally. Justin is fuming, still swinging at a ghost. "Don't you dare lecture me," Justin shrieks. Zip Mudok vanishes and reappears instantly behind him. Talk is cheap. Pain teaches respect. The vibe suddenly shifts, reminding Mudok of the brutal Central Plains. He'd gotten soft hanging around Huang, forgetting the universal law. Only the strong survive. He flicks his middle finger, shooting a bullet of invisible chi straight through Justin's wrist. Justin's grip fails. The sword clatters to the ground, and he drops to his knees, teeth clenched against the agony. He grabs his wrist, screaming, but it's not just the hole in his arm. A savage frost starts burning through his veins. Mudok looks down at him, unimpressed. Edmund rushes over, eyes popping. "Dude, what the hell was that?" Mudok ignores the question and walks toward the group. The minions panic, trying to act tough to protect their boss. "Stay back," they yell. Mudok walks right through their empty threats. Then, Justin staggers back up, catching Mudok's interest. "You should stay down, kid," Mudok says. "Why bother getting up?" Justin waves his terrified friends away. Justin stands his ground, shaky but defiant. Mudok chuckles internally. "Okay, the kid's got guts. I'll give him that." Mudok wraps his hand in swirling ice energy. "You want to dance?" Let's see how many seconds you last. Justin gets blasted backward while his friends watch in horror. As he hits the dirt, the squad rushes in. Justin, you good? They're panicking, staring at the blood pouring from his wound. Mudok looks disappointed. He stares at the heap on the floor, confused. One hit? That's all he had? Weaker than expected. Mudok realizes he needs to pump the brakes. The goal was a lesson, not a funeral. He's still new to this world, can't just go around deleting people like back home. He drops his stance and walks over. Justin gasps, mind blown. Who? Who acts like this? Does he have any idea who I am? How dare he? The sheer audacity of this kid, the son of Duke Icarus, no less. Mudok stared, convinced now more than ever, that this guy was totally brain dead. He couldn't read the room if his life depended on it. He's not just annoying, he's practically possessed by stupidity. A dark thought flashed through Mudok's mind. Just end him. Snuff him out right here. But no, that would make him just as monstrous as them. He exhaled long and slow, forcing the rage down. Suddenly, the goon squad lunged at him. Big mistake. Mudok's eyes darted, locking onto a stray branch nearby. Snap. With a flick of his mind, telekinesis, the stick flew into his grip. He smirked, leaving Justin and his crew stunned. Wait, is he a magic swordsman? Before the shock could wear off, the MC started walking. Slow, deliberate. Frost crept up the wood as he infused the club with chilling ice energy. Justin's bravado melted instantly. Mudok took another step, and the bully panicked, stumbling back. Stay back, don't come any closer. But Mudok wasn't listening. He was enjoying this, relishing the fear. His shadow stretched over them like a grim reaper. Raising the frozen club, he grinned. For punks like you, this is the only prescription. Then, it was beatdown time. He made sure every hit taught a lesson they would never forget. The soundtrack was nothing but their screams. By the time night fell, silence finally returned. The squad was on their knees, bruised and broken, begging for mercy. We were wrong. We won't do it again. Wham! Mudok slammed the club into the dirt, eyes cold. Speak up. I didn't catch that. Justin clenched his jaw, terrified. He's gonna kill us. Actually kill us. He pictured his head rolling on the grass if he didn't scream it loud enough. Panic took over. I was wrong, he bellowed. And I'll never make that mistake again. Mudok chuckled. Predictable. The club really is a universal language. Just watch your step from now on, he warned. Edmund looked ready to cry tears of joy. Cut to the next morning, the Royal Council. Gathered, tension thick in the air. Count Slade stepped up with a fresh intel report from a spy. He had deployed to the Kingdom of Syria days ago. King Tomislav III gave the nod to speak, and Slade dropped the news. My source confirms the Kingdom of Syria has successfully reclaimed the Blackstone region. In the north, the barren lands are theirs. He paused. There's more. Rumors say the Kingdom of Hizan is pushing past the Sahara Desert. Duke Sergio von Icarus frowned. Beyond the Sahara? That's a death trap. It's crawling with monsters. Are they insane? Or do they have a plan? Count Slade shook his head. I'm not sure, but I suspect they're trying to recruit Inos. The name hit the room like a shockwave. The king shifted uneasily. Count Crash leaned forward. For real? Slade nodded. Baron Arista's voice trembled. You mean the Inos? One of the continent's 10 sword masters? The king rubbed his temples. I heard that guy turns down fortunes just to wander like a vagabond. Why Hizan? Crash smirked. If not for cash, then maybe for love? The king paused. It actually made sense. Even legends have hearts. The room erupted in whispers. Who is she? Slade didn't skip a beat. Everyone knows her. King Laird, the second's younger sister. Lord Daffrin gasped. He traded his own sister for a sword? The Snake King is finally making his move. Tomislav's expression darkened. If that's true, Hizan now controls 2 sword masters. Slade agreed grimly. They're gunning for the old territories. The king's mind raced. Hizan rising in the east, Syria taking the south, and the Ziva Empire growing in the west. They were being surrounded. We can't just sit here and rot, the king declared, scanning the room. Who has a plan? Duke Icarus spoke up. We need to expand. It's our only play. The king scoffed. Expand where? We're boxed in. Then, a light bulb went off. He stared at the duke. Wait, you don't mean across the Lazar Mountains? To the north? Icarus met his gaze. We have no other choice, your majesty. The king hesitated. The north was a frozen wasteland. Even if they took it, the land was basically useless. That's why nobody wants it. But ignoring it meant forfeiting the Game of Thrones entirely. Someone had to go there, someone expendable. He glanced at Count Slade, who gave a subtle nod. The trap was set. Meeting adjourned, the king announced. But Duke Sergio caught that look. He knew exactly what was coming, but His Majesty was definitely low-key hiding something. The king dragged his ride-or-die subordinate to a spot totally off the grid, somewhere 0 eavesdroppers could survive. Tomislav shot the count a worried look. Be real with me. Did you mess up recently? Absolutely not, sire, he shot back. It's just the Duke being a selfish maniac again. For 10 years, that guy's been shipping his enemies straight to the frozen north. Cotton shook his head. It's all on me. He let out a stressed sigh. Please, don't say that. The king's eyes softened. You're literally the only person I trust in this snake pit. The count bowed, feeling the weight of that loyalty. The king cleared his throat. Anyway, look, here's the deal. Word on the street is the capital has ice cream now. You got intel on that? Cotton's ears practically perked up. Wait, you mean the Roll Trading Guild's legendary lollipops? The king looked lost. Lolly. What now? They call 'em that because the sweetness is just different, Cotton explained, hyping it up. It blows normal ice cream out of the water. Tomalov looked intense. How long has this store been running? Quite a while, actually, he replied, thinking it over. Then it clicked. His Majesty wasn't asking for politics. He just wanted a sugar fix. I gotta hit the sack soon, the Count teased. Want to sneak a visit to Roll before lights out? Tomalov busted out laughing. That's exactly why I keep you around. The guy knew the assignment. The Count grinned, realizing that fueling the king's cravings was just part of the job description. The king hyped up instantly. So, when do we roll out? Cut to Mudok. He was chilling, demolishing his usual ice cream, when suddenly ambush. A squad of kids surrounded him, begging to learn magic. He stared at them, brain freezing. Sabine stepped up, looking guilty. We know it's rude crashing in like this. And we know magic isn't for everyone. But we have to try. Annie's voice trembled. If the guild gets attacked again, like last time, we need to be useful. She clenched her fists. I'll work harder than anyone. Just teach me. Mudok set down his spoon. Look, I respect the hustle, he said, dead serious. But like I told you, I'm no wizard. I use something different. Luffy grinned, eyes lighting up. It's martial arts, right? You mentioned it before. Mudok smirked. Kid's got a memory. He raised a hand, summoning a swirling aura of frost energy. This isn't magic. It's martial arts. The divine ice shot. He shrugged. Can't teach you spells. I don't know. Leo raised a hand timidly. Then, can we learn martial arts? Mudok tried to object, but the kids weren't hearing it. They switched targets instantly. Yes, teach us to fight. They swarmed him again, begging nonstop. Mudok scanned their faces. No hesitation. Just pure, unfiltered determination to get stronger. It hit him hard flashback style. He saw his younger self, staring at his master with those same desperate, shining eyes. It felt weird taking on students when he needed to hunt down Huang as soon as possible. But these kids just wanted to protect their home. Plus, they were the ones who saved him when he knew nothing. He couldn't just teach the North Sea secret arts casually. That's a whole different world of danger. But Sabine snapped him out of his internal monologue, pressing for an answer. I'll sleep on it, he muttered. Come back tomorrow, same time. I'll give you my answer then. The room exploded with joy. For real? He's gonna teach us. We owe you our lives. Totally misinterpreting his maybe as a yes. Mudok jumped up. Hey, I didn't say yes yet, but they were already sprinting for the door, buzzing with excitement. Good night, master. They vanished, leaving him sighing in the empty room. Man, how did it end up like this? Guess I'll figure it out. He grabbed more ice cream, threw open the window, and thought, I was just as annoying back then. Master must have had a headache dealing with me. The kids were pure chaos. Then clang, the sound of steel from the forest. This late? Seriously? Looks like sleep is cancelled tonight. Meanwhile, deep in the woods, Count Slave was in full combat mode, parrying assassins targeting the king. He slashed one down, gasping for air. Can I hold out until backup gets here? He never expected a death squad while they were out on an ice cream run. Crackle. A weird noise behind him. He spun around fireballs. A mage was charging up a spell. The attacker locked on. Count Slave didn't flinch. He planted his feet between the magic and the king. As the flames roared closer, he gritted his teeth and braced for impact. Boom! An explosion rocked the clearing. Cotton! Tomalov screamed, sprinting through the smoke to check his friend. Miracle he was breathing. I'm good, Cotton wheezed, but his arm was a mess. The king gasped. Your arm! The count cut him off. Forgive the roughness, sire. Panic mode engaged. Cotton shouted for calm, but the vibes were off. One look at the enemy ranks, and he spotted the real threat, a wizard hiding in plain sight. The mage blended in perfectly with the grunts. Cotton didn't waste a second, barking orders at his warriors to stop stalling, regroup, and launch a counteroffensive. The assassins mirrored the move, diving into the fray, screaming they were gonna tear this noble trash limb from limb. The count locked in, lunging forward to skewer one assassin while the other two scrambled, barely dodging the lethal strike. They didn't retreat, though they whipped around, aiming to flank him from the blind spot. But the count was too fast. He spun on his heel, parrying just as the steel came down. His blade sparked against the assassin's weapon, and he roared, Who sent you to die here today? The assassin sneered back that dead men don't need answers. Cotton glanced over his shoulder. The king and the last standing guards were exposed. And thanks to that mage's dark arts, the enemy forces had just multiplied like crazy. These guys weren't looking for a ransom. They wanted a massacre. Defeat wasn't an option, it was an extinction event. They had to shield His Majesty, even if it meant painting the ground with their own blood. His eyes snapped back to the mage. The caster's hands were glowing, rising up. Cotton's gut dropped. Was that another AoE attack incoming? He screamed a warning to his squad to tighten the formation around the king, but the clock had already run out. The spell was primed to blow. Suddenly, Mudok crashed the party. The mage didn't even see it coming. A massive, jagged icicle tore right through his chest. Morian, the assassin captain, spun around, totally blindsided by the sudden shift. The count and the king stood there, jaws on the floor. Morian traced the trajectory of the ice, looking up to see the protagonist perched above, smirking like he just got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. In a blur, the hero dove from his perch. Morian glared, trying to track him. The protagonist materialized behind a goon, dropping him with a casual knockout punch. "Man, I just wanted to do some moon gazing," he quipped. "But you guys, you're so loud, you ruined the vibe." He flashed a grin. Morian stared, mind racing. When did this guy even move? The hero stepped closer, sounding bored. "Let's speedrun this fight, all right? My ice cream is going to turn into soup." Morian's face twisted in annoyance. He took his eyes off him for one split second. Just one. This weirdo was throwing off his entire rhythm. "You moron," Morian bellowed. The rest of the bandit squad swarmed the hero. Morian did, the math surprise attack or not, they still had the numbers advantage. The play was simple. 0, the king immediately, and vanish before any more variables showed up. Just then, the protagonist eyed Morian's blade. "Huh? That sword?" Morian lunged, going for the kill, screaming that he'd handle the pest while the squad took out the king. Flash of steel, the protagonist drew his weapon, stopping Morian's strike dead. Smirking, he said, "Never thought I'd see a piece like that out here. Guess I'll let you play with the latest toy from the Solon Northern Sea Ice Palace." He pointed a thumb at his chest. "Come at me, bro." Morian gritted his teeth, veins popping. "Idiot." He launched himself into the air, screaming that this kid wasn't walking away alive. The hero kept that easy smile. "Okay, so that's how we're playing?" Instantaneously, his blade met Morian's block. The hero frowned slightly too easy. Morian switched it up, swinging a secondary weapon, firing a blast of energy. The protagonist sidestepped it like it was nothing. Morian twirled his blades, snatching the weapon from behind his back for a surprise cross-slash, yelling, "Got you now, you rat." But the hero danced around the strike and fired back with his own heavy hit. The two blurred into a high-speed exchange, sparks flying as they parried and struck. Suddenly, the protagonist disarmed Morian, sending his blade flying, grabbed his face, and slammed the captain's skull straight into the dirt. Crunch. Right on cue, the sky opened up and rain poured down. Tomlov gasped. "Cotton, what is happening?" Cotton held up a hand, his voice trembling. "Your Majesty, stay back." He stared at the scene, totally shook. "That man, he's the kingdom's last hope." The king blinked. "What the?" Suddenly, panic erupted among the bandits. "Captain Morion is down. That guy, he's a sword master." The protagonist glared at the trembling mob. "You absolute morons. If it wasn't for you," he swung his weapon, air pressure blasting them back. "What the hell?" they screamed. The hero snapped, "This is your fault. My ice cream melted in the rain because of you clowns." The bandits exchanged confused glances. Did this guy just say, "ice cream"? The hero's jaw tightened, pure rage radiating off him. "I'm going to show you exactly how mad I am about my snack. I'm counting to 3. After that, no promises anyone leaves here breathing." He held up 3 fingers, and one bandit, clearly lacking survival instincts, stood up screaming, "Whatever. Don't let him scare you. Just kill him." By hitting him from all angles? The mob roared in agreement, surging forward while screaming, "Yeah, let's give him exactly what he's got coming." The protagonist stood like a statue and counted. 1. The bandits charged like a pack of wild dogs. One thug hollered, "We gotta silence this guy, now." The hero didn't flinch. 2. They completely surrounded him, leveling their weapons at his throat. He just whispered, 3. Internally, he triggered the skill, Spirit Energy Barrier. In a heartbeat, a shimmering force field materialized around him. The bandits froze, staring at the glowing wall in total confusion. But before they could blink, the protagonist muttered cold words. Don't blame his blade for having no heart. His eyes flared with a terrifying, icy rage, and he unleashed a devastating shockwave. Boom! Sharp glacial spikes erupted from the ground, skewering every single bandit instantly. It was a massacre. Cotton gasped, eyes wide with shock. No way. The MC simply stated he had settled the score. Suddenly, Cotton whipped her head around, yelling for him to check the other side. "Hey, wait up! He's already gone!" The king stared daggers at his subordinate and barked, "Cotton, he is giving you exactly 1 hour." Before the king could finish his threat, Cotton slapped a hand over her heart, bowed, and vowed, "Consider it done, your majesty." Later, Edmund was buried under a mountain of paperwork. When he looked up, totally caught off guard, and asked, "Wait, they're actually learning magic?" Dean nodded with a serious look. "You bet they are." He added, "Look, magic isn't something you can just self-teach." He clasped his hands and pressed. "So, the magic swordsman himself is tutoring the kids?" Dean closed his eyes and waved a hand dismissively, confirming the rumors. He noted that, like most of the Merchant Guild bloodline, he had always craved magical power. But why only 4 students? He shot a puzzled look at Edmund, who just stared at the floor and muttered, "Exactly, he figured the kids had it rough enough since he was always swamped with work. Plenty of folks out there dream of wielding magic, but only a tiny fraction have the talent for it. Those kids, they hit the jackpot." He sat up straight, slammed his palms on the desk, and demanded, "Where is this training happening? Show me the location, now." Dean sheepishly agreed. Edmund let out a hearty laugh, realizing their guild was about to blow up and hit the big time way sooner than expected. Meanwhile, the protagonist was chilling against a tree, arms crossed, looking totally unbothered, and asked, "What's with this drama?" Edmund threw his hands up and pleaded, "Why play dumb? He knows exactly what's going on." The protagonist turned his back on him, icing him out, and claimed he had zero clue what Edmund was babbling about. Edmund chuckled and called his bluff, saying, "Word on the street is that Mr. Magic Swordsman is personally training their youth." The protagonist shut his eyes and sighed internally, thinking, is this really what the guild gossip mill is obsessing over? Suddenly, Edmund was bawling his eyes out, sobbing that he was truly grateful but had no idea how to ever repay such a massive favor. Just then, Henry walked up and interrupted. Edmund looked at him, startled, wiping his face. "What is it now?" Henry reported that a visitor was here for Mr. Swordsman. The MC raised an eyebrow. "A guest?" Right at that second, Elliot scrambled toward them, eyes brimming with tears, crying out, "Magic Swordsman!" The MC thought, "Not this guy again." He turned away and told him to get lost, but Elliot dropped to his knees, screaming, "No, please, you gotta save me, Chamberlain. His Majesty swore, if I don't bring you back today, he's gonna take everything I have." He desperately latched onto the protagonist's leg, looking like a pathetic mess. The MC looked down with pure annoyance and snapped, "And how is that my problem?" Edmund facepalmed, thinking, "Chamberlain? His Majesty? Wait, for real? The king?" Meanwhile, Elliot, still clinging to the MC's leg like a toddler, begged, "Please, have a heart. You can't turn down the king's invite today." The MC tried to shake him off and sighed, "Give it a rest. It's not like this is the first time you've come here harassing people." He stepped forward and said, "Stop wasting your sweat. Go home." Elliot reached out in sheer desperation and shrieked, "Swordsman!" The protagonist paused and added, "By the way, not sure if you know, but this might be the key to cracking the Huang mystery. These pieces actually fit together." He stared at the pendant in his hand, flashing back to when he yelled that he didn't want it. William was sitting across from him, ready to argue, but the protagonist cut him off, saying, "In just 3 years, they've conquered everything north of the river. The Central Plains are next on the menu. What kind of diplomacy can you possibly have with those shady Muram masters?" William grabbed his drink and countered that. "There's a time to flex power and a time to chill." He believes now is the moment to prove the Northern Sea Ice Palace dominates its rivals with more than just brute force. The MC mulled it over, and William added, "Look, even if this flops, we can always just crush them later. Let him take the lead on this one." The protagonist looked him dead in the eye and said, "Fine, he gets it. They will play it his way." He addressed him as, "Your Majesty." The protagonist took a sip of his drink and warned, "But if they refuse to cooperate, we go back to destroying them." William smirked, realizing there was some truth to that strategy. As he headed toward the negotiations, our main character wasn't thinking about strategy or politics. His mind was drifting back to her Yuan, the woman fate had carved into his soul. That smile of hers, pure dopamine. He replayed the memory, convinced that day was the absolute peak of his existence. A faint chuckle escaped his lips. Why stress over the details when he could just vibe on thoughts of Yuan? No point in overthinking the small stuff. He just needed a solid game plan. Suddenly, Luffy snapped him back to reality, raising a hand to interrupt the daydream. "Master," the MC blinked. "Right, strategy." He figured there were plenty of angles to play, so he needed to keep a cool head. Meanwhile, back at the palace, King Tomlov slumped at his table, the tension in the room thick enough to cut with a knife. Another rejection. Elliot bowed deeply, practically begging for forgiveness. The king muttered that the more he dwelled on it, the more he realized how pathetic the situation was. He wanted to roll out the red carpet for his savior, but instead, Elliot looked up, eyes desperate, promising he'd drag the hero back by tomorrow. 100% guaranteed. The king just waved him off, exhausted. Okay, how many times had he heard that empty promise? Suddenly, a voice sliced through the heavy atmosphere from behind the door. Your Highness, Princess Eskold is here. The king's mood shifted instantly. Let her in. The chamberlain could leave. Elliot, clearly overwhelmed, burst into fresh tears and nodded frantically. As he made his messy exit, he brushed past the princess, leaving her staring at him in total confusion. Tomlov called out, urging her to enter. Eskold stepped in, clutching the hem of her dress with elegant grace before bowing. Father? The chamberlain looks absolutely devastated. Did something happen? She studied the king's face, searching for answers. He looked back at her, eyes heavy with thought. That's exactly what I need to talk about. A few beats later, they were seated at the table, the air grave. Eskold's hands flew to her mouth, eyes wide. What? She grabbed her father's hands, panic rising in her voice. Is he okay? Father, is he hurt? Tell me. The king let out a soft laugh, squeezing her hand to ground her. Everything is fine, sweetheart. He's physically safe. Don't worry. She let out a breath she'd been holding. Then, why did that warrior ghost the invitation? The king closed his eyes, rubbing his temples. That is the question. He's a young man with insane potential. I need that kind of power on my side, but he completely ignores my requests. Eskold tilted her head. From the way you describe him, he sounds like a genuinely incredible person. The king nodded enthusiastically. Incredible, doesn't even cover it. Then, he switched gears. By the way, have you heard about that new frozen treat the Royal Guild is obsessed with? The ice cream? She nodded. Yes, I've already tried it. It's amazing, the king smirked. Well, the royal wizard, who invented that viral dessert, that's the man who saved my life. Her jaw dropped. He sighed, leaning back. Exactly. Knowing he's a genius chef just makes me want to recruit him even more. Her eyes sparkled with interest. Is that so? I see. Later, as she savored a spoonful of the ice cream, the flavor triggered a core memory. She couldn't shake the sensation she felt, the very first time she tasted it. To think the wizard behind this masterpiece was the ghost her father was chasing. What kind of guy was he? She gazed out the window, watching the local kids happily munching on the treats. A plan began to form. Maybe it was time to stop sending messengers. Maybe she needed to handle this personally. Cut to the training grounds. The MC watched his students run drills. It had only been 2 weeks since he started coaching them, but these kids were already blasting energy like pros. It made sense the mana concentration in this area was way more potent than back in the Central Plains. He clapped his hands, cutting through the noise. All right, wrap it up, guys. Your mana control is solid. It's time to level up to the next stage. The students looked at him with beaming faces and roared. Yes. Just then, Elliot popped out from behind a tree, looking guilty as he called out to the magical swordsman. The MC's internal monologue screamed. Again? Seriously? He hadn't seen the guy all morning and thought he'd finally scored a day of peace. He scratched his neck, annoyed. Why is he back? Then, he froze. Something around the guy's neck was glowing. Was that light? He squinted. Really? Suddenly, the figure next to Elliot lowered her hood. A smile that could stop traffic appeared. Nice to meet you, she said. I am the princess of the Drake Kingdom, Eskold. The MC's brain short-circuited. I found her. It's actually her. Cut to them sitting at a table. Eskold broke the silence. I heard you saved my father's life, correct? The MC closed his eyes, muttering, how did the timeline end up like this? She blinked. Turned out? Then she narrowed her eyes. Wow, what a rude guy. She forced a polite smile. I was told my father invited you to the palace to honor you. Why did you turn him down? He stammered. That's, well, he looked up, and for a split second, he didn't see Eskold. He saw Yuan. She looked ready to scold him for being merciless. Multiple times, he thought, even that angry glare, that tone of voice, that is 100% Yuan. Her voice echoed in his head. Why is he silent? Hello? Earth to hero? He snapped his eyes open. He took a slow sip of his drink to regain composure. I understand. When do you want me to come? She crossed her arms, ready to argue. In that case. Then she slammed her hands on the table, shocked. Wait, what? The MC set his cup down on the saucer with a distinct clink. You came here to invite me, didn't you? She looked away, flushed. That is correct. She sat back down, regaining her dignity, and nodded. Yes, exactly. I came to get you, he replied. Then let's lock it in. She needs a specific slot on the schedule? Done. Her voice was crisp as she decided, tomorrow. Let's say 11 in the morning. She considered it booked, then gracefully rose from her seat without missing a beat. The protagonist kept it cool. You got it. We'll make it happen. She nodded. Perfect. I'm off. And vanished. A few seconds later, the reality hit the MC like a freight train. Sure, he could walk into the palace tomorrow and see her. But she wasn't just a girl, she was the princess. The king's daughter. The absolute VIP of this entire nation. How does a nobody like him even get close, let alone put a ring on her finger? He needed a strategy, bulletproof and precise, to make sure this didn't turn into a disaster. Fingers drumming a nervous rhythm on the table, he realized he couldn't do this solo. I need Edmund. Moments later, he pulled up a chair across from Edmund and dropped the bomb. I'm going to marry Princess Eskeld. Dead serious. Edmund shot up from his desk like he'd been electrocuted. Have you lost your absolute mind? The protagonist blinked. Excuse me? Edmund slumped back, crossing his arms and looking at him like a tragic case. Okay, listen. Let me break down exactly why that is a fantasy. Princess Eskeld is the sole child of the late Queen Swan. She is the only legitimate heir to the throne, Edmund lectured. A random warrior with zero status proposing to royalty? He waved his hand dismissively. Not in this lifetime. To even be in the running for fiancé, you'd need to be a foreign prince or a grand duke. Minimum requirement. Top-tier nobility. The MC propped his chin on his hand, unfazed. So, hypothetically, if I had that same level of clout and fame, it would boost my chances? Edmund hesitated, then nodded slowly. Technically, yes. You just have to earn the impossible. Before Edmund could even finish the sentence, the protagonist was on his feet. Cool. Challenge accepted. Edmund pointed a shaking finger at him, yelling, Hold up! Do you know the first thing about court protocol? The MC paused. Proto what? Edmund scrambled to the library shelves, muttering about imminent doom. I knew it. He returned, dumping a mountain of etiquette manuals into the MC's arms. If I let you walk in there acting like a brute and you cause a scene, Edmund stressed, the guild takes the heat too. A sadistic teacher's smile crept onto his face. Get ready. Boot camp starts now. The MC saw that grin and thought, why does he look so terrifyingly happy? Well, no turning back. He grabbed the book. Fine. I'm in your hands. That night was brutal. The protagonist was buried in text, eyes scanning pages frantically. Posture, Mr. Swordsman, chin up, Edmund barked. Poor Muduk had to endure a lecture marathon that stretched all night and bled into the next day. Finally, he suited up, looking sharp, and stepped out the door. All right, where do we start? Moments later, the herald's voice boomed. His Majesty, the magical swordsman has entered. The MC bowed, polished, and precise. An honor to see you, Your Majesty. The king beamed, throwing his arms wide open. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you. The protagonist adjusted his jacket, scanning the room. Wait, wasn't this a solo meeting? He thought it'd be private, but the place was packed. Why was the whole squad here? Eskeld looked mortified, fidgeting with her fingers. I am so sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to ambush you with an audience. He glanced at her, catching the panic in her eyes. She's definitely innocent here. But Justin? He was gripping the back of his chair, looking indignant. Why is this peasant here? The MC caught his eye and smirked. That little grin sent Justin over the edge. This dirtbag is Justin started, but Sergio cut him off. Zip it, Justin. Justin tried to clap back. But father, Sergio's glare was icy. You really want to make a fool of yourself in front of the king? Justin swallowed his pride, sighing. Understood. But the gears were turning in his head. Meanwhile, Tomalov nudged Cotton, whispering, rumor has it he was treated like trash. True? Cotton murmured back. Looks that way, His Majesty. Tomalov spoke up. So, what made you finally accept the invite? You know the king was pretty bummed about the delay, right? The protagonist flashed a charming smile, raising a hand. There is a solid explanation for that. The king leaned in. Do tell. Well, as you know, the Royal Merchant Guild is slammed right now, severe labor shortage, and I've been in the trenches, making ice. I wanted to stockpile a massive supply before visiting. But Your Majesty, the demand is insane. Every time I made a batch, it vanished. We couldn't keep up. So, I kept delaying until today. Tomalov burst out laughing. Ha, I didn't see that coming. Fair point. That ice cream is selling like hotcakes. Must be exhausting. The MC nodded, grateful. Thanks for getting it. Internally, he thought. Compared to my old boss, this guy's a saint. Then the king pressed. One thing though. Your name? The protagonist stepped forward, confident. I don't have one. Just call me the magical swordsman. The king paused. Seriously? I can't exactly call you Mr. Swordsman forever. He rubbed his chin, troubled. That's going to be an issue. The MC thought, here we go. Well, why don't you invent one? He shot back. Askold glided closer, flashing a teasing grin. Actually, father, how about you come up with a name? Me? Name him? He blinked. She popped a finger up, stopping him right there. Nope, not a name. Bestow a title upon him. Sergio whipped his head around, totally blindsided. Tomalov looked just as shook, echoing, "A title? Think about it," she pressed. "He saved a life, didn't he? That kind of clutch move deserves a serious payout." Sergio reached for his goblet, letting the logic sink in. "Can't argue with that," he admitted, swirling his drink. Her Highness really struck gold with this idea. The guy literally saved His Majesty the King. There's no way you let a heroic feat like that go unnoticed. He had to hand it to her. The princess's instincts were straight up sharp. "Hardly worth a mention," she replied, cool as ice. But Tomalov wasn't having it. His fist crashed down on the armrest, silencing the room. "Ignore the man who saved my skin? Impossible." He surged up from the throne, planting his palms heavily on the table, commanding the room's attention. "He deserves a title, a legacy." Lifting the ceremonial blade, his eyes locked on the MC. "The night you pulled me from the brink of death, a single word struck me. Step forward." As the protagonist approached and dropped to one knee, his inner monologue was less than respectful. "I hate bowing. My knees aren't built for this. But if this little show gets me closer to the princess, fine. I'll play the game." A metallic ring filled the air as Tomalov unsheathed the royal blade. "I, King Tomislav III, ruler of the Drake Kingdom, speak now to the warrior standing before us, the one who shielded his king and country with zero regard for his own safety." The cold steel touched the protagonist's shoulder. "I hereby grant you the rank of Baron and bestow upon you the name, Blizzard." The MC didn't flinch. "Blizzard? Like the snowstorm? A bit on the nose, isn't it?" Then Tomalov continued. "This noble name shall pass to one heir within our kingdom. Rise, Baron Blizzard." The protagonist stood tall. The king's hand gripped his shoulder, a rare moment of genuine gratitude. "Without you, my throne would be empty today. I simply want to say, thank you." The MC flashed a confident smirk. "Your Majesty, if history repeated itself, I'd make the same choice in a heartbeat." Suddenly, Sergio's voice cut through the warmth. "Your Majesty, Baron Blizzard is a national hero. Surely, a title without land is an empty shell. He deserves an estate that matches his new glory." The king stiffened. "It is unheard of for a baron to lack a fiefdom, but the logistics." Sergio pressed his advantage. Who would dare question a direct order from the crown? A dark frown crossed Sergio's face as he scanned the room. "If anyone has a problem with rewarding a hero, I'll remind them exactly what the king's word means." Tomilov's mind raced. What is this snake plotting? He never gives anything for free. He glanced nervously at the court. "Do you all agree with this?" the king asked. A terrified boy stammered. "Me? Is he asking me?" Yes, Your Majesty," his friend chimed in. "Absolutely." Tomilov rubbed his chin, trapped by the public pressure. "If the court insists, very well. But do we even have a territory available for Baron Blizzard?" Sergio's grin was predatory. "We do, sire. The northern icy lands. You recall the report from a few days ago?" The king's eyes went wide. "The north?" Sergio continued smoothly. "It's perfect timing, really. That region is desperate for a ruler. And honestly, Baron Blizzard, the northern lands. The names match perfectly. A blizzard in the north. Fate, wouldn't you say?" The king scowled, realizing the trap. "So that's the play. He's sending the boy to freeze to death. Revenge for hurting his son. I knew he was up to something the moment he supported the promotion." The tension in the room spiked. Eskold's face went pale. The northern lands? That frozen wasteland? She looked at the protagonist with pure pity. Is he seriously sending him to his doom? The MC, however, remained calm. "A fiefdom, huh?" He saw right through it. "They want to exile me, get me out of the picture because I humiliated his kid. But refusing free land? Not a chance." A wry smile touched his lips. "He thinks this is a punishment. I see it as a power-up. Time to build my reputation." Later, Edmund looked like he'd seen a ghost. "The north? You're actually going to the north? It's suicide. Blizzards, avalanches, bone-crushing cold. Even the mana there is chaotic." The protagonist sat opposite him, swirling his drink, totally unbothered. "Sounds about right. Relax. I don't catch colds." He took a sip, grinning. Edmund buried his face in his hands. "You're a magic swordsman, not a yeti. Do you even know what's out there?" The MC raised an eyebrow. "A yeti? Now you've got my attention." Edmund sighed. "A legendary clan. Natives of the ice. They look humanish, but legends say they stand 3 meters tall. Monsters of pure muscle, immune to the cold, and supposedly impossible to kill." The protagonist's eyes lit up. "Sounds fun." Edmund wasn't finished. "Most think they're myths because nobody survives meeting them. But the rumors say one northerner has the combat strength of 100 imperial soldiers. That's why they don't bow to kings. They don't believe in leaders." The protagonist's smile widened into something dangerous. "Even better." Edmund blinked. "Wait, did you say better?" The MC stood up, heading for the exit. He paused at the door, glancing back. If I can tame the untamable, my legend will be untouchable. Easier said than done, sure. He pushed the door open, ready for anything, only to stop dead in his tracks. The students were waiting. What on earth are they doing here? Oh, no. For rookies who just unlocked their martial arts skills, the northern lands are basically a death sentence. Sabine shot back. Teacher, we've still got levels to grind. If he just dips now, who's going to teach us magic? Leo pointed a finger, hitting him with pure logic. Sabine bowed deeply, pleading, please. She was playing the guilt card hard. Luffy joined in, bowing and begging like his life depended on it. Suddenly, the protagonist's eyes drifted. Spotting the princess, he thought, Escol? She offered a greeting, but her vibe was completely off, stormy and dark. He asked, what's the matter? She forced a smile, side-eyeing Annie, and signaled that they needed a private chat. Once the kids cleared out, the protagonist waved them off, signaling, message received. Okay, time to bounce. Maybe hitting the road was the right call. Sabine and Leo exchanged a look, then she stepped up to the protagonist. So, does that mean you're accepting our request? Leo added, give us a straight answer and we'll vanish instantly. He nodded. Okay, I'll hear you out. Satisfied, Sabine bowed in thanks. He cut her off. All right, chill, that's enough. You guys need to get going. As they left, Escol stepped forward, noting, you have such spirited students. He rested his hands on his hips. Less spirited, more rebellious, honestly. She let out an awkward, nervous laugh. He checked on her. You feeling any better? She lowered her gaze, confirming it quietly, adding, I'm sorry. She'd asked her father for a title on a whim, and that specific request was the catalyst sending him to the frozen north. He studied her, realizing they were cut from the same cloth. He hadn't noticed until now just how similar they were. She started apologizing about Chun Hak too. He turned away, cutting the tension. Listen, if I hadn't snagged this title, I wouldn't be heading north at all. She looked away, the truth hitting home. The guilt was eating her alive. He turned his back, cheeks flushing pink. Cute. She kept walking, pressing him. But, does my apology actually change anything? You still have to leave. Anxiously touching her face, she asked, is there anything I can do to ease your mind, even a little? He smirked. Well, maybe if I got a lucky charm? She blinked, totally confused. A lucky charm? What's that? He stepped into her personal space, lifted her chin, and dropped the bomb. A kiss. Her concern instantly morphed into panic. She shrieked, scrambling backward away from him. He held his hands up defensively. Okay, judging by that reaction, I definitely should have kept my mouth shut. Anyway, I gotta go pack, he sighed. Princess, just delete what I just said from your memory. She clenched her fists, thinking indignantly, he just drops that line and tries to bail? What is wrong with this guy? She stared at his retreating back and shouted, hold up a minute. He spun around, startled. She demanded he wait. He blinked. What now? She stared at him, deep in thought. He started sweating. What was that look? Did I cross a line? Meanwhile, she thought, this guy's attitude feels weirdly familiar. Then it clicked. Got it. I'll do it. He froze. He'd thrown it out there as a half joke, never expecting her to actually agree. Whoa, it's fine. Really. I'm not trying to force anything you're not into, so let's just pretend. But before he could finish, she grabbed his tunic, rose on her tiptoes, and planted a kiss on him. She pulled back instantly, yanking her hood up, and muttered, still. She speed-walked the other way. He stood there, eyes wide, whispering, okay, yeah, I definitely need to survive and come back. Cut to a tavern in the north, locals buzzing with gossip. New lord incoming, right? Word is, he saved the king's life. That's how he got the title and the estate. Heard he soloed 100 enemies. In a blink, no cap, Kane, nursing a mug, cut in with the real stats. Dude's a 6th circle mage, and they say his sword skills are on par with a master fencer. Mason asked the obvious question, why would a legend like that get dumped here? Max, sitting nearby, pointed out, obvious. He's on Duke Icarus's hit list. He slammed his mug down. Even if the rumors are true, they're just talk. We spook him enough, he'll turn tail and run, right? Scene shift. Luna, panting heavily and scanning the area, cursed. Damn it. Jake, back to back with her, shouted, friends? Wyvern? Where the hell is it? Just then, Luna's eyes went wide. Wham! A massive ice wyvern paw swatted her like a fly. Jake screamed her name in terror, rushing to her side. You okay? She cried out, clutching her leg in agony. He thought, damn it. We just wanted to snag a couple of eggs. She gritted her teeth. Crap. Suddenly, horror washed over her face. The wyvern's maw unhinged, locking onto Jake. She screamed a warning. He spun around, trying to scramble, thinking, this is the end. Flash of steel. The protagonist descended, decapitating the beast in one stroke. Luna let out a terrified shriek. Staring down the bloody stump of the wyvern's severed neck, Our main character flashes a grin and asks, "We good here?" She stammers out a thank you, but he just closes his eyes, cool as ice. Nah, just doing his job as the Lord. Her jaw drops. Lord? Before she can process it, he spins around with a smirk. Catch you later. Luna grabs Jake by the shoulder, totally apologetic, then snaps her head forward. Whoa, that guy moves fast. He basically vanished. Then Jake screams, "No way! The wyvern eggs are gone too." A little while later, our guy is lounging on the castle throne like he owns the place. Empty. Guess everyone knows today is Coronation Day. Osborne Moran stands there, head bowed, looking nervous. "My apologies, my lord." He offers to send messengers to the villages again, but the protagonist waves him off. "Even if you drag them here, I doubt anyone's showing up." He wonders if this is the standard work ethic around here. Starting to see why lords don't last 5 minutes in this town, he smirks to himself. Fine, he'll do it his way. Cut to a few days later, Max is losing it. What the hell is happening? He glares at his beaten-up crew. "Who did this to you? Was it the new guy?" Mason nods, looking rough. He's mad about the beatdown, but he has to admit, the guy has skills. Kane jumps in, terrified. "It was a blur. Doesn't matter what I tried, I couldn't move a muscle once he grabbed me. His grip was like steel claws, pain was off the charts." Max stares into the distance, calculating. Suddenly, Bob bursts into the room, gasping. "He's in the town square, right now." Max frowns. "Already?" Max says he's heading out. The squad is shook. Is the greatest warrior of Carolyn actually stepping up? "Max, we believe in you. Go crush this clown." Meanwhile, out in the square, the protagonist scans the crowd and lets out a sigh. Getting crowded. Suddenly, Luna freezes. Is that him? Then she hears Max shouting her name. She spins around. "Dad?" He grabs her shoulders, looking intense. "What are you doing here? What's the situation?" She explains she just came, because she saw the mob forming. Max nods. "Yeah, everyone's here because the new lord just showed up." Luna blinks. "Lord?" The realization hits her like a truck. She remembers his words. "So that's who he is." Max asks, "What are you whispering about?" She tells him she already mentioned the guy who saved her life. When she was risking it all for those ice wyvern eggs. Max's expression darkens. "The guy who saved my daughter is the Lord?" This just got complicated, and he didn't just kill a regular beast, he one-shotted an ice wyvern. That's a feat even a top-tier Carolyn warrior would struggle with. Max rubs his temple. "As a warrior, I gotta respect that power. But I can't back down now." He steps forward, extending a hand. "I am Max, the strongest warrior in Carolyn." The protagonist crosses his arms, unimpressed. "Cool story. Anyway, I'm Baron Blizzard, the new boss of Carolyn." Max says he's heard the rumors. "Word on the street is you go town to town beating people to a pulp. True?" The protagonist shrugs. "False. I just disciplined a few rebels who needed an attitude adjustment. You want next?" Max shakes his head. "No, definitely not. But I've got a better idea." The protagonist raises an eyebrow. "Oh?" Max continues. "This place, Carolyn, it's freezing. That's why we survive on hard liquor, since forever. So here's the deal. We settle this with a drinking contest." The protagonist smirks. "Is that a challenge?" Max holds out his hand. "Think about it carefully before you agree. This stuff is potent. It'll set your blood on fire." The protagonist doesn't flinch. "Don't care. But if I win, you all acknowledge me as Lord and follow orders. No questions asked." He points a thumb at his own chest, flashing a confident grin. The crowd starts whispering. "A drinking battle with Max? Is this guy suicidal? Is he seriously gonna chug Fena?" Max nods. "You're on," the protagonist warns him. "Better keep that promise." Cut to the tavern, table loaded with mugs. Max grins, thinking he's got this. "If you want to quit, now's the time." The protagonist laughs. "And break my word? I'm the Lord, remember?" He tells Max to start. Max smiles. Arrogant. "Don't regret this, kid." Time jump. Max hears a voice calling him from the void. He snaps his eyes open. Bob is shaking him. "You alive, Max? Did he just black out?" He thinks, "No way. Me? Passed out? I'm the drinking king of Carolyn." Luna grabs his arm. "Dad, you need to stop." He wipes drool off his face, slurring. "I ain't drunk yet." He slams his mug down, inner monologue screaming. "I can't lose like this. Not now." He roars. "Pour me another one." The MC pours him another shot, warning him to pace himself. Max, staring at the glass, is already seeing double. Damn, why is the room spinning? Then the MC demands his full attention. They kept going, round after round. Max clutched his skull, thinking, how is this dude still standing? He groaned. "Seriously, are you even human?" He knows he's hit his limit. Max snapped. "I'm out. Uncle, not a chance. We're just getting started." The MC smirked. As he spoke, they downed the next mug, leaving the crowd absolutely shook. The MC slammed his cup down, thinking, maybe my tolerance reset, or maybe I'm just built different. He stared ahead, grinning like a shark. Too easy. Max hit the floor with a heavy thud, and the MC declared that sound was the sweet music of victory. Mason checked the body. Max was out cold. The MC stood up and announced, "All right, listen up. Everyone at my castle, in exactly 5 days." He pointed a finger at the crowd. "Let's see who's actually loyal enough to show." Cut to the throne room. The MC sat relaxed, scanning the crowd. "Honestly, didn't think you guys would actually show up," Max scoffed. "Is that a joke? Of course we're here." The MC nodded. "Cool. Since you know who I am, let's cut the fluff. You've got 10 days to pack. We're moving out." The room went dead silent. "Why the long faces?" he asked. Luna raised a hand, looking confused. "So, do you want us all to crash in your castle?" "Hard pass," he replied instantly. "You think this place fits a whole village? Get real." She frowned. "You said pack our bags," he shot back. "I said pack, not move in." She blinked. "Then where?" He clenched his fist, eyes intense. "North. We leave immediately." Everyone exchanged confused glances, so he broke it down. "I've been scouting the area for the last 5 days. Found a prime spot up north, big enough for 10,000 people easily. No more cramped city life, we're building a real community." Max threw his hands up. "Bro, that's ice cannibal turf. They hunt in packs there." The MC tilted his head. "Ice cannibals? You mean those bald dudes built like bears, walking on 2 legs?" He asked if Max had seen them personally. The MC pressed for an answer. Flashbacks hit him memories of slicing those monsters into confetti. "Yeah, about them. I wiped them all out." The crowd stared at him like he was an alien. The MC sighed. "Why are you guys so shocked? Relax, I handled it. The place is safe, and honestly, it's a paradise. Now, dismissed. Go pack." He stretched his arms, feeling the stiffness leave his back. Just one loose end left. Suddenly, Luna's voice piped up behind him. He spun around. "Oh, it's you." She placed a hand over her heart. "We never got a proper intro back there. Things were way too chaotic. I'm Luna." Jake, standing beside her, gave a nod. The MC smirked. "I know why you're here. I was actually about to come find you." Jake looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" The MC breezed past them, waving a hand. "Whatever. Don't overthink it. Just follow me." He led them away, straight into the tower. "Check this out." They gasped in unison. "Are those baby ice wyverns?" Luna lost it. "I knew it. You swiped the eggs. We worked so hard for those. How could you?" The MC crossed his arms, leaning back. "Remind me, who saved your lives that day?" Luna ground her teeth, fuming. Jake tried to interject. "Yeah, but that's..." The MC cut him off, waving dismissively. "Doesn't matter. Keep it down. They're napping." Luna whispered. "Seriously? Ice wyverns?" He nodded. "Yeah, thought I'd raise them. But man, they are loud. And they eat like horses. They're driving me absolutely insane. It's like I'm drowning in their constant demands." Luna looked at him with pity. "Well, bad news. We can't take them. Imprinting. The first face a hatchling sees becomes mom." The MC froze. "Say what?" He facepalmed hard. "So you're saying I'm stuck babysitting these screeching monsters forever?" Jake scratched his head. "You think they're annoying? Are you crazy?" Luna crouched by the hatchlings, eyes wide. "These are apex predators, way stronger than normal wyverns. And you actually tamed them?" Jake hyped it up. "If I were you, I'd keep them. We could fly straight to Tenson." The MC blinked. "Tenson where?" Luna answered. It was the second capital of the Kaya Kingdom, sitting 1,000 kilometers west of Karlin, a desolate wasteland where absolutely nothing thrived. The protagonist eyed the beasts. "You seriously think we can fly that distance on these things?" Jake didn't blink. 100%. Round trip? Maybe an hour. 2, tops. The gears in the protagonist's head started turning. "Hold up." He crossed his arms, locking eyes on the creatures. "So, how do I break them in?" Lena smirked. "Change your mind?" A grin spread across his face. "Oh, yeah." He had a killer idea. Days later, the Great Migration of Karlin kicked off under Mudok's orders, trudging through a brutal, snow-choked hellscape. Sabine scrambled to catch up with the protagonist, breathless. "Master, look at them. The people. They're reaching their breaking point." He scanned the crowd. 3 days and nights of freezing trekking would break anyone's spirit. He could feel the doubt radiating off them, the hesitation, but they were close. Once they saw the sanctuary, the vibe would shift. He raised his voice, commanding attention. "Listen up. We are practically there. I know it sucks, but you gotta trust me. Just hang in there a little longer." Mason wasn't buying it. "But they're walking blind, boss." Kane chimed in, nervous. "And are we even sure the ice ogre is actually gone?" Wham! The protagonist drove his weapon into the frozen earth, silencing the chatter. "Did I or did I not crush everything in my path? You are the warriors of Karlin. Act like it." He spun around, leading the charge with zero hesitation. Sabine tried to interject, but he cut her off. Save it. They'll get it soon enough. She nodded, falling back. He glanced back, a confident smirk playing on his lips. Once they see the destination, they'll understand everything. Moments later, the cavern loomed ahead. Leo's jaw dropped as he took it in. Whoa. This is the spot the teacher spoke of. Leo marveled. The MC confirmed it. Took some digging to find. But trust me, you guys are gonna love this setup. Looks like the mood is finally lifting. He clapped his hands. All right, everyone, eyes on me. This place used to be an ice ogre's lair. But guess what? It's home sweet home now. Since we're crashing here, we need a fresh name, right? The crowd murmured in agreement. Let me cook on that for a second. He thought back to his days in the Northern Ice Palace. Needs that same icy prestige. His eyes lit up. Yeah, perfection. Hands on hips, he declared. From this day forward, this base is officially White Castle. The name stuck immediately. Good. Now, time to secure those wyvern hatchlings. Suddenly, he froze. Whip turn. What was that noise? Crack. A sphere of lightning erupted, sending electric arcs tearing through the air and slamming into the helpless wyvern babies. Jerome von Carowin stepped out, clutching a glowing artifact. What in the blazes is a wyvern doing here? The protagonist materialized behind him, like a ghost. What the hell is this? Since when do we have a wizard? Jerome spun around, panicked. Too slow. The MC unleashed a stream of energy, shredding the guy's fingers before clamping a hand around his throat. Smash! He drove Jerome's skull into the dirt. I don't repeat myself. Energy crackled in his palm, threatening execution. Why did you attack my wyverns? Jerome's mind raced in terror. Damn it. Paralyzed. I can't move a muscle. The protagonist leaned in, nose to nose. Your mouth still works. Start talking. Fast. Jerome stammered. Okay, I'll talk. I am Count Jerome von Carowin. The protagonist raised an eyebrow. A count, huh? Real nobility? I'm just a baronet, so technically you outrank me. Jerome's eyes widened. A baronet? Wait, you're him. The blizzard who saved his majesty and got landed? You know who I am? The protagonist paused, connecting the dots. Hold on. Is this the washed-up lord who got exiled to this dump? I believe so. Complicated situation. The MC didn't care for the backstory. He grabbed Jerome's collar and hoisted him into the air. Not my problem, the MC spat. But you got an attitude, Jerome sweated. Now that we know we're peers, we're on the same side, right? Or am I wrong? The protagonist charged energy right at his temple. Yes, you're wrong. You aren't my peer. You're beneath my dog, you scumbag. You failed your duty. You should have surrendered your title ages ago. Equals. Please, I'm letting you live today, so don't you dare try me again. He tossed the count into the snow like trash. Block lifted. You can move. Jerome scrambled to his hands and knees, gasping. Try anything stupid, and you're dead. Jerome shook his head frantically. No need to worry. Won't happen, I swear. The protagonist pointed a finger at the injured wyvern hatchlings. Good. Now, fix what you broke. Heal the wyverns. All of them. Then you can get lost. Jerome blinked. Me? Heal them? The protagonist grinned, jabbing a thumb at his own chest. I've got a knack for reading people. You used magic earlier. That means you're useful. He spun on his heel. Job done. Jerome reached out a shaky hand, then thud. He collapsed to the floor, panic racing through his mind. Damn it, this vibe is all wrong. A beat later, he snapped his head up. Excuse me? Buried under a mountain of paperwork, he stared in disbelief. You want me to send what to the capital immediately? The protagonist didn't even blink. Why the shock? Is sending a single letter to the king really that big of a deal? Jerome shot back. That's not the point. You seriously want to demand a tax exemption? The MC crossed his arms, cool as ice. That is exactly what I said. This territory is fighting for its life right now. Jerome ripped his glasses off, rubbing his temples. The other nobles will riot. It's political suicide. The MC raised a brow. Why? Jerome sighed. Because from their perspective, it looks like favoritism. If this bill passes, they'll blackmail His Majesty, claiming our special treatment is just tax evasion. Even if the king favors you, he'll have to reject it to keep the peace. The protagonist mused. So, the nobles are the real obstacle here, and pulling the strings is the very guy who exiled me here. The MC smirked. Fine, we pivot. We'll shelve that plan. Jerome exhaled, a massive weight lifting off his shoulders. He pointed to the stack of files. Okay, then what about this mess? The MC leaned in and whispered a new directive into Jerome's ear. Jerome's eyes went wide. What? Is that actually doable? The MC nodded. 100%. Jerome frowned, processing the insanity. All right, if you say so, I trust you. The MC turned to the door. Good, start the preparations. Now. A bit later, Jake clapped a hand on Luna's shoulder. Yo, why did the boss call a sudden assembly? Luna shrugged. Beats me. Suddenly, the protagonist's voice boomed across the training grounds. Is everyone present? Luna stepped forward. We're fully geared up, but what's the emergency? The MC scanned the crowd. Listen up. Starting now, we are hunting ice wyverns. But we aren't just killing them, we're securing the bag ice wyvern eggs. The crowd gasped. Eggs? Stealing eggs is suicide. The protagonist held up a hand, silencing them. Relax. I guarantee your safety. Split into squads of 30. Your sole objective is the heist. Grab the eggs. Even securing one is a victory. Complete the mission, and you get paid. But the squad that brings back the biggest haul gets a bonus of 100 gold coins. The reaction was instant. 100 gold? Cedric's jaw dropped. That's life-changing money. I couldn't earn that in a decade. Jake scratched his head, skeptical. Is he serious? A fortune just for some eggs? Max stepped up, nervous. Boss, no disrespect, but is that cash guaranteed? The MC smirked. Warriors of Carlin, have I ever played you? I don't make empty promises. Can you handle this? The warriors exchanged glances, eyes burning with greed and determination. Hell yes, we're in. The protagonist signaled Jerome over. For the next 10 days, monitor every squad. Identify the MVPs, the ones with real talent. I have a special use for the elite. Jerome adjusted his glasses. Are you planning to form an official night order? The protagonist stared at him. Is that a problem? Jerome hesitated, but the MC was already analyzing him. I threw him into the deep end immediately, and he's swimming perfectly. As expected, he's a top-tier asset. You're sharp, the MC said. Every major city needs a night order, right? Jerome nodded. Technically, yes. Rumor has it the Lion Knights from the Icarus Duchy are absolute monsters. They say they could go toe-to-toe with the Royal Guard and win. The MC waved it off. Don't sweat it. Give it time. We'll surpass them. His internal monologue turned dark. This time, I will build an army that makes the Snow Ice Troop look like amateurs. I won't lose everything again. He threw his arms wide. All right, move out. Moments later, a massive wyvern screeched, diving straight for them. The protagonist grinned. Action! The squad surged forward. Luna unleashed a volley of arrows. Jake, sever the tail. Now! Jake spun his blade, a blur of steel. Consider it done. Max launched a devastating uppercut to the beast's head. Second squad, deploy the net. On 3. Whoosh! The heavy net clamped down, trapping the wyvern. The MC watched the seamless teamwork. Not bad. Jerome stood beside him, impressed. They've been grinding for days. The synergy is finally clicking. Their coordination is flawless. Jerome's mind raced. I never would have thought to steal eggs to tame them from birth. If this works, we can use ice wyverns for logistics. Selling monster parts to distant cities, we're sitting on a gold mine. The protagonist cupped his hands and shouted, voice cutting through the wind. Great work, everyone. Keep that momentum. Secure those eggs. Bring home the loot, and you'll be swimming in coin. As the warriors scrambled, Jerome watched in awe. He took a bunch of unruly roughnecks and turned them into a single, lethal unit. It never gets old watching him work. The warrior smashed into the wyvern with a blur of steel. The crowd went wild, one guy screaming, "Called it! Storm put that monster in the dirt." Our protagonist smirked, impressed. Not bad. Who's the mystery powerhouse that just soloed an ice wyvern? Jerome flipped through his tablet, eyes widening. Confirmed. That is the actual Storm Schwartz. Guy's got a stage name? Must be a big deal, the protagonist noted. Jerome nodded. Huge. He's basically the people's champ. Raids corrupt nobles, takes their stash, and rains gold on the poor. The protagonist let out a laugh. So, what's a legend doing in this frozen wasteland? Jerome sighed. Apparently, he got cornered and locked up, but looks like he busted out. The protagonist studied the warrior's technique. Moves like that? He is not just strong, he is useful. Jerome, he commanded, eyes glued to the fight. If any other prisoners slip the leash besides him, I want a full dossier. Jerome straightened up. Consider it done, boss. We might find some more diamonds in the rough, the protagonist mused. Jerome's shoulders slumped great. More overtime. Later, the protagonist addressed the squad. Killer work, everyone. Thanks to your hustle on the hunt, we snagged a solid haul of ice wyvern eggs. And like I promised, you are getting paid. Big time. The crew erupted in cheers, but Max raised a shaky hand, looking nervous. Boss? Spit it out. Max. Max scratched his head. So, we got the eggs, just like you said. But, why? The protagonist grinned. I figured you guys were wondering why I sent you on an egg hunt. Here is the plan. When ice wyverns hatch, they imprint on the first face they see. Mommy complex. Get it? I am not hunting them. I am raising them. We are building an air force for transport. We load them up and drop cargo in every kingdom on the map. Max blinked. Cargo? Specializing in what? The protagonist tapped his chin. Sky is the limit, but we are starting with high-tier leather. Specifically, ice ogre hide. The crowd gasped. Ice ogres? Are you trying to get us all killed? Luna shivered. I want to live a little longer. The protagonist silenced the panic with a hand gesture. Chill. Let me ask you, who cleared out the ogre swarm around this castle? They hesitated. That was you, sir. He pointed a thumb at his chest. Exactly. Me. You think I would invest in you guys just to feed you to monsters? Bob glanced at Cedric, sensing the shift. This feels different than the old days. With him leading, Bob murmured. The protagonist clenched a fist, grinning. Well, does that give you some courage? Grins spread across the crowd. We are with you, boss. The protagonist nodded. That is what I like to hear. Now, about those rewards and future PL. Suddenly, Leo sprinted in, screaming, Teacher, teacher. The protagonist frowned. We are in a meeting. What is the Leo? Cut him off, panting. It is bad. Real bad. How bad? Leo gasped for air. It is Sister Sabine. She is dying. The protagonist's eyes snapped wide. What? Cut to. Luffy huddled next to a shivering girl. Here, sis. Keep warm. He wrapped his cape around her trembling shoulders. Annie was right there, wiping away tears. Little sister. Luffy gripped her hand. Do not give up. Fight it. Teacher is coming, I promise. The protagonist burst onto the scene. Status report. The kids whipped around. Teacher. He strode forward. Let me see her. He placed a hand on Sabine's feverish forehead. This heat. It is. So cold, teacher, she whispered. The protagonist stiffened. This is way worse than a flu. He dropped to a knee. Walk me through it. Every detail. How did this happen? We were helping Mr. Osborne scout a spot for the wyvern coop, one of them stammered. And we found this massive field of ice flowers. Like, stuff from the history books. Sis wanted to surprise you. She picked a bunch. She kept saying, Teacher is gonna love these. Annie sniffed. We brought them back. But then, Leo's voice cracked. Sabine, sis, she just dropped. Out cold. Teacher, what if she does not wake up? The protagonist rested a steady hand on Leo's head. Not on my watch. Breathe, kid. He took the crushed bloom from Leo's hand. Ice flower? Wait, hold up. Is this a snowflower? The legendary elixir of the Northern Sea? These should not exist in this world. Annie tugged his sleeve. Please save her. The protagonist's gaze hardened. I know exactly what to do. Job 1 is the top priority. I'll handle the floral situation myself. Leo, scoop up Sabine and stick to me like glue. You got it, master. Our MC flashes a grin. Time to hit the training grounds. Let's hustle. The squad bursts into the room. Our guy pumps the brakes by the bed and signals Leo. Lay her down, gently. Leo steps up, laser focused. Yes, sir. Gotta be careful not to make things worse. Perfect form. He settles her onto the mattress, and the MC nods. Solid work, Leo. He places a reassuring hand on the kids' heads, shifting into serious mode. Listen up. I'm starting the healing procedure now. You two need to clear out. This room is officially a no-fly zone, until I say otherwise. Understood? Yes, master. But just as the door closes, Luffy peeks back in, looking worried. Teacher, please. You gotta save our big sis. The MC gives him a firm nod. I'm on it. Now, go. Alone at last, he examines the bloom in his palm. Snowflower? Nah. Around these parts, they call it an ice flower. To the locals, it's just some mysterious weed that pumps out useless. Freezing air. Big mistake. Back in the Northern Sea, Mudok's old stomping grounds, this fruit is a legendary elixir. Straight up god-tier item. Granted, the sub-zero temps make harvesting a total nightmare. But watch this. Snap. He extracts a glowing fruit pulsing with energy. For a normie? Impossible. For an ice chi master like him? It's a walk in the park. Sabine went down because her ice chi foundation was too weak to handle the freeze. Time to fix that. He places the glowing fruit in her mouth, hands hovering over her forehead to channel the flow. Wake up. Open your eyes. Boom, she shoots up, totally confused. Master? He keeps the energy steady. Yeah, it's me. Listen closely. Sabine. Posture check. You need to sit up and circulate that chi immediately. She wipes the sleep from her eyes. Understood, master. She takes a breath, gathering power in her palms. The MC watches like a hawk. Good. That lethal frost in her system, it just synthesized into pure internal power. Then, her eyes snap open, and she face plants right back onto the pillow. Oof. The MC blinks. Did she just fall asleep? Her energy levels didn't just go up, they skyrocketed. This fruit works even better than he anticipated. At this rate, he's gonna have to crank her training regime up to nightmare mode. But first things first. Once Sleeping Beauty wakes up, the whole squad is taking a field trip to that flower patch. Might hit his goals way ahead of schedule. Later on, Sabine is up and running, and the crew secures the ice wyvern eggs. Time for a total overhaul at White Castle. Mudok scans Jerome's roster and handpicks his dream team, the Blizzard Knights. No long speeches, just straight to business. You're in. Shuard? Guy crushed every metric, so he's captain now. Next up, infrastructure. We're talking schools, hospitals, eateries, pubs, drip shops, the whole 9 yards. He starts slotting people into roles, matching jobs to skill sets perfectly. While reviewing the personnel files, he drops a truth bomb. If we need to restructure, we hire the right heads for the job. Jerome nods along. Osborne, you're on White Castle security detail. And Jerome, being the absolute unit of competence he is, gets promoted to personal assistant. But then the MC adds, Osborne's built for security, not paperwork. Jerome hears assistant and literally clutches his chest, emotional. But sir, my calling is teaching magic. The MC raises an eyebrow. So, you're declining? Jerome hesitates. MC looks at him like he's crazy. Use your brain, idiot. Jerome quickly pivots. I'll work my tail off. MC nods. You better. Jerome sighs, thinking he deserves 1,000,000 gold pieces for this stress. Meanwhile, the military expansion kicks off. Just 2 units for now. First up, the guard squad. They're on perimeter defense, locking down White Castle's borders and running recon missions all across the Kowloon zone. Plus, rounding up any lost citizens. The MC points a thumb at himself. And the captain of the guard? That's me. Second squad, the Wyvern Knights. Jake instantly shoots his hand up. Booyah, boss, you gotta let me run this one. MC's internal monologue kicks in. Slight problem. We don't actually have rideable wyverns yet. They're still hatching. But once the knights are rostered, any spare eggs go straight to the Kowloon Trading Group. Airborne logistics, game changer. Then he turns to Luna with a sly look. Keep this quiet, but you're the boss. Acting leader. Luna, clutching a giant piece of meat, just nods. The MC claps his hands. Meeting adjourned. Great work, team. Cut to a few days later. Jerome is drowning in luggage. I'm so behind schedule. Should have begged the boss to pack lighter. He sighs, wondering what fresh chaos awaits him today, and pushes open the door. He rubbed the back of his neck, flashing a sheepish grin. My bad, guys. Didn't mean to keep you waiting. He slid into the nearest chair. Max shot him a glare. We literally just started. Then Jerome's eyes drifted, landing on Sabine and widened in total shock. Wait, wasn't she on death's door like, yesterday? What is she doing here? The MC clasped his hands, cutting through the tension. You're here now, so take a seat. Jerome nodded. Yes, sir. The boss turned to his aide. Osborne, keep going. On it. Osborne tapped the recording crystals. It hasn't been long since we launched the guard squad, but the numbers are spiking. Our cells are already packing more than 20 bodies. The real headache? Over half are refugees drifting in from the outside. Max bolted upright, slamming his hands down. Sir, these guys are straight-up criminals. We need to round them all up and throw away the key before they wreck the place. Jake smacked the table in agreement. He's right, Jake yelled. The MC didn't flinch. If we're locking up rebels, shouldn't I be the first one in cuffs? After all, I'm the main culprit who got a top-tier leader like Jerome exiled for no reason, right? Max scowled, defensive. That's totally different. That was self-defense. We were protecting Corellan's freedom from the central nobles. The protagonist narrowed his eyes, unimpressed. He stared Max down. So, your rebellion was a noble crusade, but when squad leader Schwartz acts out, it's just petty theft? Max averted his gaze, stammering. No, I mean, Schwartz spoke up, his voice steady. I just hope you never forget what real suffering looks like for the common folk. Max snapped back. We're in a strategy meeting, man. Save the philosophy for later. The protagonist sighed internally. God, does this guy ever look past his own nose? Aloud, he asked. Anyone else got something actually useful to add? Sabine raised a timid hand. Can I say something? Go ahead. She stood up slowly, pressing a hand over her heart to steady herself. If Sir Max feels this way, then the public opinion in the village regarding the fugitives must be terrible. The protagonist nodded. No doubt. She continued. And the cannibal hunt kicks off today. He raised a brow. Your point? Why don't we put the prisoners on the front lines of the hunt? The room went dead silent. The MC's lips curled into a smirk. Bingo. Keep talking, Sabine. I'm listening. The beast stomped forward, letting out a bone-chilling roar. Lennon peeked from behind a thick oak. Who? Thought we lost him. Captain Schwartz. The A-team, Gregory, Schwartz, and Lennon grouped up, adrenaline pumping. Seems that way, Schwartz whispered. Wait for them to gain distance, then we cloak up and ambush. Standard procedure. Roger that. The monster lunged, and the squad exploded into motion to meet the attack. Gregory swung his heavy weapon. Crunch! Lennon followed up with a slash, screaming, We got this in the bag. Gregory's eyes widened. Watch out! Lennon, frontal assault. The beast pirouetted, swinging a massive claw. Lennon gasped, winded, but drove his sword forward anyway. You're done for. Suddenly, Schwartz blurred into the frame. Get down, you idiot. He shoved Lennon aside, his dual blades flying straight at the monster's throat. The rest of the squad piled on for the kill. Just before this, Osborne had stared at Sabine, skeptical. Wait, put them in the vanguard? You mean use them as meat shields? That sounds pretty desperate. Sabine shook her head gently. If the teacher leads them, it's rehabilitation, not execution. He doesn't throw human lives away for nothing. What if they fight side by side? Back in the present, Schwartz checked on the rookie. You good, kid? A little sketchy, but yeah, we made it. Gregory burst out laughing. Listen to Lennon trying to sound tough, Kane smirked. We saw you flinch, Lennon. Looked just like that panic attack you had back in prison with the pickaxe. Laughter erupted. Quit lying. Anyway, good job out there. We just earned a fat reward. Drinks are on me tonight. Gregory clapped a hand on the kid's shoulder. This is it, boys. Our fresh start. He chuckled warmly. I really messed up back then, huh? Sabine had predicted this moment. People's opinions of them will definitely shift. The protagonist watched from a distance. Look at that. They're actually bonding. Battle builds brotherhood, and to think my little apprentice cooked up this entire scheme. Suddenly, another creature peered from the shadows, eyes locked on them. Jake pointed a trembling finger. Contact, 12 o'clock. Easy, let it walk into the trap, the leader hissed. The archer gritted his teeth. I'm trying. Man, did you hear that? The archer knocked an arrow, tension spiking. Yeah, I'm taking the shot. Cover me. Thwip, thwip, thwip. 3 arrows slammed into a tree trunk. The leader blinked. False alarm? Just the wind in the leaves? The archer sighed, lowering his bow. Probably. Let's go grab my ammo. Scanning the perimeter. Suddenly, a shadow shifts behind the timber. Something's watching. Whoa, did you catch that? Back at base, the MC stands tall, arms crossed, radiating absolute authority. The duchy's fear of ice ogres? Ancient history. Osborne pumps a fist, grinning like he just won the lottery. Straight facts. The morale around here is electric. Jerome nods respectfully. It's all thanks to your strategy, my lord. Everything is running like clockwork. The MC acknowledges him. Jerome, tell the squad to stay sharp. We don't need any reckless heroics. Jerome bows low. Understood, lord. Stepping closer, the MC drops a serious question. Are we tracking any threats besides the usual ogres and wyverns? We're compiling the data now. Jerome starts, but chaos interrupts. Osborne spots Phil and bellows across the camp. Phil, report. Is the squad okay? Phil looks wrecked, barely standing. We made it out, but the guys took heavy damage. They're in critical care right now. The MC steps in, voice low and dangerous. Osborne, site rep. Now. Osborne grimaces. We've got a situation. Define situation. Osborne hesitates. A new hostile. And it's definitely not an ice ogre. A new breed? Phil stumbles forward, out of breath. 2 of my guys. We were scouting, and this thing just jumped us out of nowhere. It hunted us down. The MC narrows his eyes. You sure it wasn't just a stray ogre? Positive. Totally different species. Describe it, the MC commands. White fur, completely covered in it, and massive, at least 3 meters tall. The MC stares into the distance, processing the intel. Phil adds, it's built like an ogre, but the eyes. This thing is smart. Way smarter than any beast out here. The MC snaps into action mode. Jerome, call off the hunt. Jerome blinks, surprised. You're going solo, Lord? I have to. This one requires a personal touch. I'm taking it down myself. Lock down the perimeter immediately. Yes, sir. The MC dashes into the tree line, mind racing. If the intel is right, and this monster is who I think it is. Edmund's lecture echoes in his memory. The Yeti. He triggers his inner sight, scanning the monowaves. Pulse, pulse. Gotcha. A massive aura flares nearby. Found you. Weapon drawn. In a blink, he teleports behind the beast, blade swinging for the kill shot. The Yeti spins around, eyes wide with terror. Slash. The blade grazes its arm. Panicked, the beast scrambles in the opposite direction. The MC skids to a halt. Miss the vitals? He watches the creature flee. Damn. For a big guy, he moves. But the visual confirms it. Definitely a Yeti. For a split second, they lock eyes across the snow. Why is he shivering like a scared kitten? A second ago, he was a roaring monster. Did he sense my power level? You can smell the terror on him. Then the creature stammers, are you human? The MC readies his blade, hesitating. Part of me wants to study this thing, just out of curiosity. But he hurt my squad. Mercy is off the table. Do better in your next life. Hope your respawn is human. Boom. He launches off the frozen ground, hovering right above the Yeti. The beast throws up a hand in a desperate block. Futile defense? No, flash. The MC twists midair. What the? The beast vanishes milliseconds before impact. Teleportation? Wait, was that green mana? Lulf said, warp magic is high-tier stuff. 5th circle minimum. And above. Most mages cap out at the 1st or 2nd circle. 5th is legendary. That's near god tier. And this glorified snowball just casually cast it? Whatever. Magic or not, you're mine. I'm still catching you. He re-engages the chase. He tears through the forest, then skids to a stop. Huge body, but scurries like a rat. He expands his senses. Short-range warp. He can't be far. Within 2 kilometers. Gotcha. He pivots sharply, landing lightly on a stack of fallen timber. Ahead, a dark opening. A cave? He steps inside, and his jaw drops. Is this a library? Rows of bookshelves line the stone walls. In the middle of a frozen wasteland? There, huddled behind a stack of books, the Yeti. Really? That's your hiding spot? Yo, Yeti. The creature trembles, shrinking back. Don't come closer. The MC sighs, sheathing his weapon. Relax. I'm not gonna kill you. Chill out. Wait, are you actually human? The creature, Condole, puts his hands behind his head. Negative. I am the great warrior, Hori Condole. The MC blinks. Hori warrior. Condole? Suddenly, Jerome steps out of the shadows. That translates to Yeti, Lord. The MC smirks. Perfect timing, Jerome. Jerome nodded in agreement, scanning the wreckage. Total carnage everywhere. Only the boss leaves a signature like this. He spread his arms wide, taking in the scene. Nature getting wrecked in real time, he noted. But the real question is, why is a Yeti, a literal ancient legend, chilling right here? The protagonist muttered. I was just about to grill him on that. Thud. He slammed his hand against the bookshelf next to Condole. Yo, Condole, where did you spawn from? The creature stared back in silence. The protagonist pressed on, planning another escape run? Answer me. My patience has a health bar, and it's dropping fast. Condole lowered his head and roared. From Glack. The protagonist raised an eyebrow. Black? Is that your crib? The Yeti nodded. So there's a whole squad of you out there? Confirmed. The protagonist mentally swiped left. Next question. Explain yourself. Why did you jump my crew? Your answer decides if you live or die. Before he could finish, Condole screamed, I didn't catch any bodies. I am a great high warrior. He stood up, towering over them. I don't throw hands without a reason. The protagonist gave him a skeptical look. For real, Condole? The Yeti frowned, doubling down. I am Condole. Jerome, nose deep in the archives, chimed in. Fact check. Yetis are incapable of capping, my lord. Stats show critical damage on the victims, but 0 fatalities. Everyone survived. MC flashed back to Phil's report. Come to think of it, the casualty count was 0. Condole crouched down, clenching a massive fist. Facts. Your humans invaded sacred turf. Condole just evicted them. I never start the beef. Never. The protagonist crossed his arms, piecing it together. So while they were hunting ice ogres, they trespassed on Yeti territory? Jerome nodded. Looks like it. The protagonist's eyes narrowed. Edmund fed me fake news about the Yeti. He sighed. Jerome, patch him up. Heal Condole. Jerome bowed. On it, boss. By the way, his name really is Condole. Jerome aimed a magic relic at the wounded arm zap. MC called out to the beast. Hey, the protagonist smirked. I showed you the map of the sacred ground. I'll put a do not enter sign up for my people. Condole's eyes lit up. For real? MC nodded. Yeah, but watch your tone, big guy. Condole blinked, confused. Huh? The protagonist sighed, rubbing his temples. Guess I can't expect. Perfect grammar from someone who can barely talk. Jerome stepped back. Healed up, boss. The protagonist spun around, heading for the exit. Let's bounce. Jerome paused. Boss? MC stopped. One more thing. Cut to later. Edmund turned to Henry. Yo, how long has it been since the deadline? Henry checked. About 3 months. Edmund let out a nervous chuckle. It's true. He collapsed onto the ground. Henry looked down, concerned. Yes, Sir Edmund? Suddenly, Edmund grabbed his own head in panic, screaming, We are cooked. Totally done for. That magic swordsman promised us. He flashed back to MC's words. Just chill for 3 months. I'll send the ice. He buried his face in his hands, crumbling into despair. Ghosted. No news at all. Henry scratched his head. Did he actually say that? He placed a hand on Edmund's shoulder. Relax, Mr. Edmund. He doesn't seem like the type to flake on a promise, right? Suddenly, a shadow loomed over them. A massive wyvern dive-bombing straight down. Claws out, coming in hot. They shrieked wyvern and dove for cover like it was a boss fight. Dust settled. Sabine, perched on the beast, called out, Mr. Edmund? He froze. That voice? He looked up, eyes widening. Sabine, she grinned. Ice delivery has arrived. Edmund fist-pumped the air. Let's go. It's actually ice. I knew the magic swordsman was legit. Henry stood there, brain short-circuiting. An ice wyvern? A monster with army-wiping stats used as a glorified delivery truck? What the hell is going on in the north? Sabine shushed him with a finger to her lips. Oh, yeah. Teacher told me to give this to that person. She handed a letter to Edmund, who was busy petting the death lizard. That person? Edmund smirked. Yeah, him. Hard cut to a gazebo. Justin spoke softly. Her Highness, Princess Escold. She held her tea, icy stare on lock, as he thanked her for showing up. She set the cup down. Your Majesty, you're glowing up every day. You're too kind, Sir Justin, she replied, voice flat. He took a sip, analyzing her. Still blunt as ever. She doesn't even bother faking a smile. But hey, the chase makes the prize sweeter. I can wait. Catch that rare smile breaking through her icy mask. But the vibe shifts instantly when a maid leans in, whispering a secret into Escold's ear. My apologies, Your Majesty. Escold blinks, confused. What is it? Then, her composure cracks completely. Excuse me? A missive from Baron Blizzard has arrived. At the mention of that name, Justin shoots up from his chair, totally rattled. The maid confirms the letter is waiting in the office. Escold doesn't hesitate, she's already moving. We need to hurry, Justin yells out, desperate. Your Highness, wait. She's barely pausing. I came all this way this morning just to see you. She finally stops, pivoting on her heel with a cold look. I heard one day isn't nearly enough for your sword training. You shouldn't be wasting daylight here. Go back. Now. She signals Lenzia. Let's move. Lenzia nods. As they vanish down the hall, Justin slams his fist onto the table, shaking with rage. Blizzard, that absolute pest. Meanwhile, Escold tears into the letter. It starts softly. Dearest Princess Escold, how have you been? Are you healthy? Because of the luck you gave me, the North has become a paradise. We have dazzling crystal caverns and thermal springs that stay warm even in the dead of winter. We've built a city named White Castle. It's a breathtaking place, truly. But there's one glaring flaw. You aren't here, and that absence makes the whole city feel hollow. I'm sending a small token of my longing. Escold gasps softly. Wow. She gently lifts the preserved flower attached to the note. The letter ends with a promise to write again. Signed, Baron Blizzard, the man who misses her. This guy has serious game. She presses the bloom against her heart, flushed. One hand goes to her forehead as the confusion sets in. What is happening to her? Why does this man live rent-free in her head? She stares at the flower, determination hardening in her eyes. She stands up abruptly. I need to verify this personally. I need to see it with my own eyes. Cut to the MC, currently channeling pure mana into a delicate flower. He studies his handiwork. Destroying stuff is easy, he mutters. But creating these tiny, intricate details, that's a nightmare to control. Suddenly, Jerome rushes in, breathless. My lord. MC looks up, breaking concentration. What's the panic? Jerome is beaming. You need to come to the office. Right now. It's a discovery. A total jackpot. MC sighs. All right, quit the whining. Jerome whispers that he wishes he could create magic like that. MC cuts him off. Move it. They head out of the cave complex. Moments later, the MC stops dead. What is this place? Some ancient wizard's archive? He crosses his arms, looking around skeptically. What the hell is going on here? Jerome throws his arms wide, theatrical as ever. You don't sound excited. This is massive. We found the legacy of a lost noble family. This is the key to reviving forgotten arts and breaking past the fifth circle. But the MC narrows his eyes, sensing something off. I feel a weird energy signature. Jerome, what are you stashing in your shirt? Jerome laughs nervously. This? Oh, it's nothing. My lord, I didn't mention it because it's trivial. Before he can finish his lie, the MC telekinetically snatches the pouch from Jerome's belt. He starts untying it. You know, people only get curious when you try to hide things. The MC pauses. This? He peers into the bag, eyebrow raised. Rocks? You're hiding rocks? Jerome admits defeat. I didn't mean to hide them. They're monastones. Highly compressed magic. The protagonist inspects the glowing minerals. Monastones. Huh? He sets one on the table, the weight of the situation sinking in. So, why the secrecy? What makes these so special you had to sneak around? Jerome sighs, dropping the act. I'm stuck at the fourth circle. He starts gathering energy in his palms, frustration visible. I'm right at the edge of the fifth, but I've hit a wall. I haven't leveled up in ages. I thought these stones were my ticket out. The MC looks at him, gaze softening slightly. I get it, he says thoughtfully. Smashing through a plateau isn't easy. I know that desperation. Jerome lights up. Thank you, my lord. I knew you'd but. The MC cuts him off sharply. And that is exactly why I'm forbidding it. Jerome stares, totally blindsided, clutching his chest. What? But boosting my power helps the estate. You're the lord. You have to approve this. The MC doesn't budge. Hard pass. Yeah. A monostone might push you over the line today. But then what? What happens next time you get stuck? You'll just go hunting for the next stone. Speedrunning your levels isn't the goal, Jerome. True power comes from understanding the magic. Real growth needs grind and time. There are no cheat codes. Jerome clenches his fist, fighting the urge to argue, but then relaxes. As annoying as it is, the boss is right. The MC reached the fourth circle on pure skill. Jerome recalls a memory from years ago. His grandfather's hand on his shoulder. Magic does not tolerate haste, he had said. Walk slowly, step by step. Only then will you truly understand. Jerome realizes he's been chasing shortcuts and forgetting the essence of magic. He admits he'd started ignoring his grandfather's wisdom without realizing it. The MC watches him, relieved. He was about to force the issue, but looks like Jerome figured it out. Good. Now, aside from cheating, what else can these stones do? The mage broke it down, explaining the stone was a total multi-purpose tool perfect for mana boosting, erecting barriers, or casting communication spells. Suddenly, our main character shot up from his chair, shouting, "Wait, communication? You're telling me with a mana stone, we don't even need a mage to talk long distance?" The mage nodded. Spot on. He gripped the stone tight. So, if I embed a calm spell into this bad boy, even a total non-magic user could operate it? And this specific specimen was top tier. With a gem of this caliber, you could practically FaceTime the Zeba Empire from across the ocean. The MC turned to Jerome. Pop quiz. Do you know the single most critical factor in ruling a nation? Jerome hesitated, admitting he wasn't sure. The MC dropped the wisdom. Speed of intel. He who gathers and moves data the fastest dictates the rules of the game. Jerome, I want every single mana stone converted into a transmitter. Immediately. Jerome snapped to attention. Yes, my lord. Cut to outside. The MC stood there, gripping the prototype stone. Static crackled, then a voice cut through. Yo, is that Jake? You reading me? Osborne watched, eyes wide with shock. The MC smirked, speaking into the rock, loud and clear. Jake, what's your 20? Jake was chilling on an ice wyvern, wind whipping past him, cruising over the plains, about 10 clicks out from White Castle. Signal is crystal clear. Zero lag, my lord. Just then, Jerome turned to the protagonist. Incredible. Strong signal, no interference. The comms project is officially a success. We can actually maintain a network with these things. Suddenly, Jake screamed over the line. Woo! The MC buzzed him back, ordering him to return to base. Jake laughed. Watch this triple dive with a corkscrew. The MC radioed Osborne, telling him to push the testing range. The second Jake landed, Jerome started panicking. Boss, he's gonna wreck the gear. Suddenly, a voice shouted, Teacher! Sabine leaped off her ice wyvern, sprinting toward him, announcing her arrival. He grinned. Perfect timing. Get inside. Smash cut to the war room, where Sabine asked what the deal was with Lord Edmund's letter. The MC skimmed the notes, shrugging it off as mostly fluff. Then he locked eyes with her, reminding her that he'd asked for intel on the neighboring political landscape. She'd done her best. He pondered for a second. That name, Enos, mentioned in the letter, gave him a weird vibe. He looked around the table. Does the name Enos's ring any bells for you guys? Schwartz rubbed his chin. I haven't seen him personally, so don't quote me, but rumor has it, the guy's a great swordsman. The room exploded. Everyone stared in disbelief. Excuse me? A great swordsman? That's leagues above a standard master. That rank shouldn't even exist on this continent. The MC raised a hand, demanding silence. Nervous glances were exchanged. The MC closed his eyes, diving into his internal monologue. In the Central Plains, a great sword master implies someone who hit the realm of enlightenment, someone who can manifest a physical sword from pure energy. It's such a letdown that barely 10 people here have even unlocked sword aura. Life without a worthy rival is agonizingly boring for a warrior. But if an enlightenment tier master has actually shown up, even if he's not quite my equal, I need to meet him. A twisted, battle-hungry grin spread across his face. The strongest in this world. Shuai chimed in. It might be nothing, but I heard a weird detail. The MC raised an eyebrow. Weird how? They say, when he fights, the air smells like blooming plum blossoms. The MC's mind raced. Plum blossom sword art? With the actual floral scent? That's the signature of the Manhua sect. Only they possess that secret technique. No way. Could it be? Am I not the only one? Did someone else from the Central Plains get isekai'd to this world? Back when he was conquering the Central Plains, he remembered extending a hand. Manhua sect. A blade that carries the fragrance of flowers. Beautiful style, but the wielder wasn't on my level. He recalled Zhang Punjin, the Manhua leader, hanging from an icy cliff, screaming, Mudok, you scumbag. If my disciple were here, you'd be finished. The MC had looked down at him cold. You mean the kid who ran away a couple of days ago? The old man screamed back. He didn't run. He vanished in the middle of solo training, like he just evaporated from reality. Back in the present, the MC rested his chin on his hands. Sounded like a lame excuse back then, but now, Jerome broke the silence. My lord, Was that everything in the letter? The MC shrugged. Nothing major. Just that the kingdom sent an inspection team. The room went dead silent. Subordinates stared in horror. Inspection? My lord, what the hell is happening? He blinked at them, confused. Is that a reason to panic? They screamed in unison. Yes, absolutely. An inspection visit usually means one of two things: a casual royal vacation or a death sentence for traitors. Jerome shot up from his chair. Regardless, we gotta be ready. When's the deadline? The MC just wagged a finger casually. Today, 1 o'clock. Wait, 1 p.m.? That means right freaking now. Right on cue. A massive legion swarmed the castle grounds. Jerome rushed to the window, eyes popping. What? Seriously? They're actually here, Sabine gasped, spotting the armor. Even the royal knights? Then Justin stepped into the spotlight, bellowing. Lord of White Castle, Baronet Blizzard, get your butt down here and show some respect to the inspection team. Suddenly, the MC was right in his face. Long time no see, Justin. He smirked, pointing at the guy's arm. How's the hand healing up? Justin clutched his wrist, grinding his teeth in pure rage. But then it hit them. The crew back in the room froze. What the heck? When did he warp down there? And wait, is that really Justin? Jerome's mind raced. Is he insane? Is Lord Blizzard trying to start a rebellion? Meanwhile, our hero just flashed a grin. She can't hide forever. Come on out, Your Highness. Princess Escold stepped forward. Lord Justin, enough with the threats. She lowered her hood, revealing her face. How have you been, Baronet Blizzard? She glanced around, her eyes lighting up. Wow. Welcome to the crystal cave I mentioned in my letters, the MC said. Her jaw dropped. It's breathtaking. And the hot springs? She asked eagerly. I need to see them. He nodded. You got it. See, the inspection team showed up, officially for royal business. But the second Escold read his letter, she begged her dad to let her tag along. The MC noted she hadn't changed a bit, still stubborn as a mule. Honestly, that talisman, she cut him off, shouting, Case closed, got it? He stared at her, thinking, even the little things. She's exactly like she was in her past life. He'd been through hell and back, conquering the entire world just to avenge her. After a long, bloody journey, he finally found her. She looked different now, but just being by her side, that was pure bliss. A bit later, they reached the spot. Escold leaned over the edge. So, these are the famous hot springs? Incredible. Suddenly, the MC reached out, pulling her into a gentle embrace. Personally, he whispered, I think you're even more beautiful. She blinked, startled. Baronet? Then he slipped up. I really missed your wine. She shoved him away. Ryan? Panic flashed in his eyes. Who is that? She demanded. He threw his hands up. My apologies, Escold. It just slipped out. She narrowed her eyes. Baronet Blizzard? She actually liked the way he looked at her, so direct, so warm. She lowered her head. But today, I finally realized something. Tell me, Baronet, is this affection for me, or for that other woman? He stared at her, totally lost. He stammered, trying to explain, but she turned her back. No, don't say a word. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she marched toward the exit. Don't bother following me. I understand everything now. He reached for her, then clenched his empty hands into fists. He was frozen, speechless. Why? Even if he told Escold the truth about his reincarnation, she wouldn't grasp the feelings he'd carried for lifetimes. Later, while walking through the woods, a shadow lunged from behind, blade gleaming. A split second later, Justin turned his head. Arbon? The assassin bowed. You called, Sir Justin? Justin grinned. How did it go? Ambush successful, sir. Justin smirked. Meanwhile, back in the forest, the MC's pendant lay torn in the dirt. At that very moment, Escold walked into the room and froze. Justin was slaughtering her knights. He wiped his blade, smiling like a psycho. Apologies for the late visit, Princess Escold. Terror washed over her face. She grabbed the doorknob, desperately trying to slam it shut, but swish, he severed the handle with a single swing. Then he minced the door itself into splinters. The force knocked Escold backward. He stalked over, lifting her chin with a bloody finger. You've been very rude, Your Majesty, he hissed. You brushed off my feelings, only to fall for the first loser you met? She screamed in his face. Are you doing this again, causing chaos over nothing? Baronet Blizzard won't let you get away with this. He stepped back, chuckling. Wow, even now, you're still thinking about him? Too bad he's dead. Her eyes went wide. I sent a squad of elite assassins to take care of him. Suddenly, the MC exploded into the room, mowing down enemies like grass. He slid to a stop next to Escold. Are you hurt? She looked at him, trembling. I'm okay. But you, Baronet? The protagonist frowned, sensing the dark energy pulsing from Justin's blade. With a sharp exhale, he swung his hand. Steel met flesh, but the blade only grazed his arm. The MC sidestepped, mind racing. Is he steering that thing with telekinesis? Suddenly, the sword rocketed out the window, disappearing into the distance. The protagonist gripped Escold's shoulder to steady her, and snarled, "Justin, you dirtbag. You actually planned this out. Just moments ago, the guy was strapped in heavy armor, clutching that cursed blade. His old man, Sergio, had asked him point blank if he was finally ready to end that Blizzard punk. Justin's reply, "Oh hell yes, father. Just gimme your elite hit squad." Those guys could take out a swordmaster, but before he could finish gloating, his dad shut him down. Not enough. Sergio handed him a sword pulsing with raw power. If you want him dead, you do it right. You need preparation. This blade feeds on the wielder's mana to summon magical armor. With this, even a grandmaster is toast. Snap back to reality. Justin was losing it, cackling like a maniac, while slicing a massive boulder in half. How's that for power? Huh. Idiot. The game has changed. Those hired goons might have choked, but that just means I get to end you myself. The MC parried the strike, and Escold gasped. "Baron, your arm." He cut her off, shoving her back gently. "Stay back. Find cover. Now." She pressed a hand to her chest, eyes wide. "You're coming back, right?" He offered a faint, confident smile, and told her to stay hidden and chill. In a blink, he vaulted through the wall, landing square in front of Justin. "New gear, same old Justin. You haven't changed a bit, still totally mid," Justin roared, swinging wildly. "Spare me the lecture." The sword lunged, but the protagonist swatted it aside like a fly. Instantly, Justin closed the gap, slashing furiously, but the MC caught the strike with his bare hand and backhanded him, sending him skidding across the dirt. "Shut your mouth, Blizzard," Justin screamed, grinning like a psycho. "This is it. He's running on fumes after fighting those mercs. He's mine." He wound up for a killing blow. "Game over, Blizzard." But before he could blink, the MC countered, slamming a strike directly into his arm. Justin froze, staring at the injury. What the? The exact same spot as before? He collapsed, clutching his arm and howling in pain. The protagonist nodded. "Perfect. You can't hit Escold from this distance." Justin grit his teeth. "You faked being hurt, just to lure me away from the princess?" The MC's hand began to glow with concentrated energy. A cornered beast bites hard. Even a mouse fights back when it's trapped against a wall. And a rat like you dared to lay a hand on Escold? Justin lunged, screaming, "Don't you look down on me?" The protagonist leveled his glowing hand at him. "Nope, just playing it safe. I'm not losing anything today." A blinding white flash engulfed the entire clearing, and when it faded, Justin was on his knees, shaking uncontrollably. What? What did you do?" "My mana?" He tried to summon it, but nothing happened. The MC looked down coldly. "Don't bother. I shattered your energy core. You'll never cast a spell again." Terrified, Justin swung a weak fist, screaming. Smack. The protagonist slapped him effortlessly across the face, and spat. "Spend the rest of your life repenting. Now, you'll know what it feels like to be powerless." He glanced at the sun. "Getting late. She's waiting for me." Cut to. Sometime later, Justin and his crew were rotting behind bars. The plan was a bust, and the mastermind was broken. He stared at his hands, trembling. "Mana. Gone. Impossible. Why?" Outside, the protagonist smirked. Finally, just a nice date with Escold left. But his smile vanished. He spun around, eyes widening, spotting Escold holding Jerome's hands. "Wait, what is happening right now?" Flashback. 15 minutes earlier. The MC waved to the group. "All right, listen up. It's got to be around here. Whoever finds it first gets a massive payout." As everyone fanned out, Jerome walked up, looking thoughtful. "So, this is where you got jumped and lost that precious pendant?" The protagonist nodded. "Those guys were pros," Jerome noted. "How'd you handle that?" The MC shrugged. Experienced? Maybe. They were stealthy, sure, but weak sauce. If I was at 100% back then, they wouldn't have even scratched me." Jerome smirked. Yeah, impressive." Suddenly, Escold's voice trembled behind them. "I knew it. You lost it because of me, didn't you?" They spun around. "Princess?" Tears streamed down her flushed cheeks. "If you had looked for it immediately, you might have found it. But you didn't, because you were too busy saving my life." The protagonist stood there, stunned. He assures her it's not her fault, then turns on a dime. Pointing straight at Jerome, he snaps, "Justin's the one to blame, that total scumbag. Right, Jerome?" At that name, Escold freezes. Her eyes go wide as she stares at him. "Wait, Jerome? Count Jerome von Karawan?" She rushes in, seizing his hands in hers. "What on earth is the Count doing out here? Rumor had it you vanished off the face of the earth." He forces a nervous chuckle, gently pulling his hand back. "Yeah, things just happened. Your Highness, I get the excitement, but chill. This greeting is kinda a lot." Just then, The MC claps a hand on his shoulder, grinning like a shark. You two seem tight, huh, Jerome? Jerome panics. Yo, you got it all twisted. Really? The MC raises an eyebrow, skeptical. Looks pretty obvious from where I'm standing. Suddenly, Lencia steps up to Escold. Your Highness, maybe we should clear the air? The MC keeps his grip on Jerome, not letting him escape. Wait, this is the guy you respect the most? Escold beams. 100%. He's genuinely incredible. A noble who actually gave a damn about the people. I was devastated when he got exiled to this wasteland. And when I heard he went missing, literal nightmare fuel. The MC shoots a knowing glance at his subordinate. I see how it is. He turns back, teasing. But who actually brags about being a good person? Wait, why the past tense though? She gets all shy. Well, because now I know you. Cue, major blushing from both of them. The MC smirks. Princess? She instantly panics and bolts the other way. Oh snap. Right. You were looking for that pendant. I'll check over there. Her maid chases after her. Your Highness, wait up. Seconds later, she skids to a stop in the tree line. Gasping for air, she catches a sudden glint in the snow. The maid catches up, panting. Your Highness, Escold blinks. Lencia? She scoops up the shiny object. Wait, isn't this exactly what the baronet was hunting for? Lencia nods. That's the one. I'll let him know, as soon as possible. Escold's mind races. The way he looked. This has to be about that Yuan girl. Suddenly, the maid speaks up. Princess, you've got the exact same look on your face as the baronet. Escold flinches. Excuse me? Relax, Your Highness. I bet he's thinking about her just as hard as you're thinking about him. Escold stares at the pendant, a soft smile forming. I thought I was just dealing with the green-eyed monster at first. But now, I'm just curious. Who is this girl who stole the heart of a guy like that? Who is she? Flashback to Chun Hawk losing it. Get this trash out of here, now. A flower blooming for true love? Total garbage. He spins around, screaming. She's already engaged, you idiots. Quit wasting time on fairy tales. Get her ready for the wedding I arranged. Huang reaches for the shattered vase and the fallen flower. Standing tall, she clutches her chest. Father, please, open your eyes. When lovers make the flower of love bloom, it's a blessing. It proves we're soulmates. Tears roll down her cheeks. She looks down, voice trembling. You see a literal miracle, and you're still forcing this political marriage? I guess the alliance matters more to you than my happiness.